My boyfriend is a jobless cheater. So why am I unsure about moving on?
Why are you unsure? Come on.
I don't know. We're going to have to find out, I guess.
I don't want to know. Come on. There should be no story here.
Sorry in advance for such a long story. I tried to be as informative as possible so I could give a decent picture of my situation. So me, 25 female, and my boyfriend, quote unquote, 26 male, started dating in 2019. By the way, this comes from user Disastrous Tear 5478 on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So we met in college while he was in his previous relationship, and I was getting over a terrible breakup. Long story short, he ended up breaking up with his ex, and some months later, we had our first date in April, but we didn't make it official until last November. When was this story?
What the heck?
So was that 4 years? We're not exactly sure.
Yeah, that timeline was kind of weird.
Everything was going great until one day when he was in another room, I saw a message from a girl pop up on his phone, which obviously led me to read all of the messages. I know this was an invasion of privacy, but I had never heard this name before and something just didn't feel right. They were flirting and he was telling her that he really liked her. Keep in mind, this was barely a month into our official relationship. It was an immediate red flag. But since we weren't together for long, I swept it under the rug.
Bad.
A month into your relationship, you didn't trust him enough to not look through his phone. And for good reason. And for both of those reasons, sharks, I'm out. Over the course of the next few years, there had been a few more instances similar to this one, which were all little flirts through messages that I ultimately forgave him for. The last straw for me was a time in June of 2022 that I traveled to my hometown for a funeral of a close friend, and I came back to find out that he had not only been flirting with someone, but made plans and met up with them. I couldn't imagine that while I was mourning the loss of my friend, he was out having a jolly good time with some other girl, and I didn't cross his mind once. Side note, I think it's worth saying that to my knowledge, he has not physically cheated, but to be honest, I see emotionally cheating or anything you feel the need to hide just as bad. Okay, but they definitely physically cheated. He met up with a girl while you were away. That being said, I told him I wanted to go on a break so that he could figure out what he wanted. I know I should have just completely broken up with him at that point, but there's so much that went into me sticking around, and it's hard to include every little detail in one Reddit post. I will say, though, that I've struggled with a low self-esteem for most of my teenage and young adult life, and when he came into my life, he made me feel so beautiful and loved. We were aligned spiritually, which is honestly hard to come by these days, and our chemistry was so insane that I thought surely this is my person. Anyways, this break was the start of a 2-year-long roller coaster of emotions. But we would have deep conversations about our future and our upbringing and how it possibly contributes to our bad habits. And this is when things started clicking. I found out that basically all of his male relatives on his dad's side, the uncles, the cousins, and the granddad, were cheaters or ladies' men, including his dad. Run away as fast as you can.
Run.
Sprint, Olympian style. It's so bad that one of his uncles was sent to the great beyond by his mistress. Run away!
Huh?
Run away from this man and his entire family. As far as his dad, he cheated on his mom throughout their whole marriage. They have both passed away now, but I think because he gets compared to his dad a lot, he's now subconsciously trying to be just like him. I mentioned it to him and he agrees, and he assured me that he wants to break this generational curse. And I do believe that he wants to, but actions speak louder than words. That being said, we never fully got back together, but since we've lived together all this time, we still go out as friends. And if I'm being completely honest, we've had spicy sleep a few times too. Girl, what are you doing?
You're kind of, they're both a-holes right now. You know, you're so cognizant of like what's going on, and you're like, nah.
We've both been working on ourselves with the intention on eventually getting back together, and I've seen some progress, but I don't know if it's enough. There's other things that are contributing to my frustration, like finances. I've carried this relationship financially in so many ways, and don't get me wrong, I don't have an issue with being the main breadwinner or helping him out since he doesn't really have the family or support that I have, but to be broken, irresponsible, and having a lingering eye is crazy to me. I feel like at this age, we should have our crap together, and I can't wait forever for him to get a grip, especially since I'm not the one with the problem. I know I'm not perfect. I can be very controlling, and sometimes I feel like I'm nagging. I also tend to shut down when I'm upset instead of communicating, and I sometimes feel like I make him feel like less of a man.
What?
OP.
What are you doing, OP?
OP.
Why are you defending?
I understand you just described that you don't have high self-worth. But
This is
now
supporting
that if
it.
you're aware of it, you need to like take steps to build it up, because it's like if you don't, you're going to fall into another situation like this. I mean, I'd hope that you wouldn't, but if you don't change that perspective in here, it's not. I feel like this is going to keep happening to you.
Yeah, this is just a recurring cycle of rinse, repeat, recycle, rinse, repeat, recycle. You're not bettering yourself.
Yeah.
You got to get out of this toxic environment and toxic relationship right now.
Anyways, he's never said that I make him feel less of a man, but I feel like by me nagging all the time, he probably feels like I'm treating him like a child. That's an assumption. He's also told me that he wishes I was softer, but I feel like I've grown up to be hard because I've had to pick up the slack in so many ways. Moving on to the issue at hand. He's graduating with an engineering degree soon, and months ago, I gave him an ultimatum. I told him that by the day he graduates in December, I have to see a change in his actions, and in order for us to be together again, I need a grand gesture. I'm usually a simple girl and don't ask for much or anything at all, but I feel like after all I've been through with him, I deserve something. Even if it's just a well thought out dinner and a movie or something romantic. And no, I don't want him to propose yet.
Oh, no.
You need to really therapy, self-worth. You need to go to therapy and unpack what keeps you from seeing the value that you have and the fact that this guy is borderline valueless to you.
Yeah, he adds nothing to you but stress.
You can't go from texting and flirting with multiple people to suddenly being ready for marriage. But we're ready for you to marry us every weekday at 3 p.m. PST when we go live on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitch. All you have to do is tap our profile and you're in. But before you go check if we're live right now, we're going to finish this story. And I feel like we've honestly peppered our thoughts into there so much right now that we're just going to go right into the end of the story here.
Let's just say, are you everyone sucks here? I know OP's in that mindset.
No, I don't feel like it's everyone sucks because OP, it's like, it's more that like, it's
she's supporting it though.
Yeah, but it's like, I feel like it's coming from some kind of trauma. It's coming from something.
Well, it's the self-worth.
There's
it's
something
the
that
self-image.
it's something she needs to go to therapy for and build up.
But the thing is, she knows that like he's bad. He's bad. Like, that's bad. It's bad. Red flags. And she's just like, I'll give him an ultimatum.
I think it's absurd that she's possibly considering marrying this guy.
It doesn't seem like a possibility. It seems like she wants to marry this guy.
She says, I don't want him to propose yet. It's like, you shouldn't want this guy to propose.
You shouldn't want this guy in general.
That is, so I guess if you want to put it like that, yeah, everyone does suck. But at the same time, it's like, I feel like it's just because she thinks she's worthless. Well, we got to keep going. Let's keep going. The issue is he still hasn't secured a job for after he graduates, and I have a job offer for a job in my hometown. Obviously, as an engineer, he'd be making more, which is why I considered putting my career on hold to follow him if we're going to work this out. He has been applying and landing interviews, but nothing is sticking. I wouldn't mind doing long distance, but honestly, I don't know if I could trust him if we're apart. He still hasn't even asked me to be his girlfriend again, so I don't know why I'm even stressing. Leave this man. But I don't know. My head is just scrambled, and I've never thought I'd be putting my life on hold for a man. So what should I do?
Leave this man. Easy. Wow.
One more time?
Leave this man.
Can we go 3?
Leave this man. Wow.
What are you doing?
You already know. That's what I'm saying. OP, you are so aware, but so unaware at the same time. I don't understand.
Therapy. You need therapy.
You do need therapy. You need a support system where you are loved and you are cherished and you are put in the right place, but this is not it.
I don't know if my father chose my ex over me, so I walked away.
Ex-father.
My ex-husband, let's call him Chad, was emotionally and sometimes physically abusive. We have 2 kids together, and co-parenting has been a nightmare even after I remarried and had another child. He's manipulative, controlling, and just all around a toxic human being. By the way, this comes from user psychologicalarm602, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So, my dad owns several rental properties. Some were purchased while I was married to Chad, some after we divorced. These houses were always seen as an investment by my dad for his family, and as he says, generational wealth. He always talked about leaving houses for his 3 kids in his will. Well, he currently co-owns 6 of these properties 50-50 with Chad. This makes me incredibly uncomfortable. Here's the core issue. My dad wants a relationship with me now, but he refuses to acknowledge the horrific abuse I endured at Chad's hands. He refuses to cut ties with Chad despite knowing some of the details, and this makes both me and my current husband incredibly nervous and uncomfortable. It feels like a complete betrayal, and honestly, it's baffling. And here is the best part. Chad makes my dad money. Money my dad is currently living off of. Clearly, the concept of generational wealth is lost upon him. Meanwhile, I have zero financial ties to my dad. I don't give him money, and I certainly don't take any from him. Chad, on the other hand, only partners with my dad because my dad has the capital to fund these real estate deals. Chad, being a contractor, handles the renovations. Then they split the profits 50-50. So my dad fronts the cash, takes all the risk, and doesn't even recoup his initial investment, while Chad gets richer off the deal. All right, now if I'm dad, I'm definitely buying the other half. What are we doing? Why are we working with there's so many different guys we could be working with.
So many. I would say, like, right now, I would have a conversation with my dad and be like, hey, I want to have a relationship with you, but I can't if you're.
To add insult to injury, Chad does not pay a dime in child support from this income because it's all conveniently in my dad's name, so it doesn't count as Chad's income during our divorce. It's a truly messed up situation. Yeah, to make matters worse, during my very difficult and harmful divorce, my dad, knowing some of the things Chad did, actually told me he was praying for me and Chad to reconcile. This is the kind of man my dad is, more concerned with appearances and what certain circles of his Christian community think than with the actual reality of the situation and the well-being of his own daughter. And it gets worse.
No.
It's not just a business relationship. My dad and Chad actually socialize. They hang out, church, lunches, dinners, birthday parties, the whole 9 yards. My dad's excuse is that they never talk about me, which frankly I find incredibly hard to believe, and it doesn't matter. That doesn't make any sense.
That's such a stupid, like, oh, well, we don't talk about you.
Even if they aren't actively gossiping about me, the very fact that my dad chooses to spend time with my abuser, share meals, and celebrate milestones with him speaks volumes. It sends a clear message that his comfort and his financial interests are more important than my well-being and my peace of mind. Feels like he's choosing Chad over me over and over again. Yeah, I've tried to have conversations with him about this. I've tried to explain how his continued relationship with Chad and his refusal to acknowledge the abuse is hurting me. I've explained how it makes me feel unsafe and unsupported, but he just brushes it off, saying things like, you need to forgive and forget, or I don't want to get involved. But dude, you are involved.
You're already involved.
You're
That's
involved.
Your daughter. You are involved because it's your daughter.
So here's where I might be the a-hole. I've set a boundary. So not an a-hole. I've told my dad I cannot have a relationship with him until he severs all business ties with Chad and ensures that Chad no longer has any financial interest in any of the properties, acknowledges the abuse I suffered, and stops minimizing it or trying to force me to reconcile with Chad even after the fact. I also told him that until these things are addressed, I want nothing to do with his will. I don't want any potential inheritance to be used as a tool for Chad to try to contact me or manipulate me in the future. Am I being unreasonable? Am I the a-hole for setting these boundaries? I feel like I have no other choice. I need to protect myself, my husband, and my children from Chad's influence, but I also feel incredibly sad and conflicted. I love my dad, but I can't tolerate this any longer. I feel like the daughter-in-law that divorced his son. Help me, Reddit. Am I the bad guy for protecting myself? And there's an update here. Well, thanks for all the support, everyone. Turns out y'all were right. Here's an update, and then I'm going to have to stop updating on this and move on with my life. In the last few weeks, my mom's oldest sister passed away. She had been sick for a while, so this wasn't shocking news, but still sad. I called my mom to be polite and offer my condolences. I wasn't close with this particular aunt. I also made it clear I wouldn't bring up any of our drama and would only talk about it if she did. Well, as per usual, she used her sister's passing to shame me, saying that in 10 years, this could be me, and I don't want our family to not be speaking to each other like this, or something along those lines. So I restated my boundary.
Good.
Once they get out of business and stop communicating so friendly with my ex and show me some loyalty, then that won't be a problem and we can work on our issues. She said she won't turn her back on her grandkids because he's the only way she sees them. I reminded her that's only been a recent development and that she never set boundaries with him ever. In the same phone call, she told me she went to his house around Christmas time. He also shows up to my niece's birthday parties. Then she told me she's angry that I dated my new husband and got pregnant with my youngest without going to her for help. Apparently, she thinks I should have because I was 34 despite the fact that my husband is incredibly supportive, loving, and the most amazing man I've ever known. She's literally mad that I'm able to take responsibility for my own choices and don't need to turn to her for every little issue. I honestly still don't understand that one. If I had to guess, I would say it's a control issue.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
My dad has done absolutely nothing about his business with my ex. He's living off the money he's making with him, even though he calls it generational wealth. I don't think that phrase means what he thinks it means. My sister decided to send me endless texts that ended with her openly admitting she has nothing to be responsible for. She is a crying shoulder for my ex-husband and even asked me if I felt sorry for him at Thanksgiving 2 years ago. Yes, she does know a lot of the things he did to me and my kids: verbal abuse, toxic masculinity, gaslighting, name-calling, financial abuse, etc., etc. She also told me that my healing and growth is selfish because I'm not including her in it. I seriously wish I was making this up. The only successful conversation I had was with my younger brother, but even he isn't sure about my new husband, which is weird because they are so similar. Basically, he told me not to date anyone, but I dated my now husband anyway, and it worked out. And now he's mad about it. Again, I was 34 and my husband was 28. I don't know if they don't like that I didn't take their advice or if they don't like that it worked out for me despite me not taking their advice. I wish I had a better explanation for this, but I just don't. I'm not sure where all this will go, but I'm holding to my boundaries and moving forward with some pretty big goals my new husband and I have for our nonprofit, which helps people in life transitions who don't have support, lemons into lemonade. That's very good. Thank you for the support, and I know this update is vague, but if I typed out the whole story, it would be a dissertation. It was so unbearably complicated and honestly confusing because of the delusional thinking of my toxic family. Well, at least you're aware of that, because I wholeheartedly agree with that sentence.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is obviously, it really sucks that your parents are not listening to you and kind of ignoring all of your, trauma, like, stuff that you've experienced. But like, good on you for continuing to hold true to your boundaries, not let anyone push you around.
That's right.
Like, that's the moral of the story, is that you're doing great.
I haven't blocked anyone because I just can't bring myself to do that to my family, but I moved an hour away from them and only respond when I'm ready to. I will hold up my boundaries, but my focus is on my family and our new baby. Oh, I just found out I'm 5 weeks pregnant. Congratulations.
That's very exciting.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. You just found yourself a gem. You can keep that or add that to your collection to try for the legendary crown of wonder.
It's sad that my parents and siblings are going to miss out on a relationship with my two youngest because they can't let go of the life I rejected, but I know I'm a cycle breaker, and with that comes being the villain. A title I will happily wear, and there's another update. Ooh, after the first update, you're like, I won't have another one. Well, guess what? We got a second one. So let's get into it. OMG, one more update that I discovered in therapy. I know y'all will appreciate this. While I was going through my divorce, my brother and his wife were renting a house from my dad. I was at their house one day, we used to be very close, and I noticed the house next door was getting ready for an estate sale. Since I know my dad likes buying houses in that neighborhood, I went to check it out. My dad has done rentals my entire life, so I'm pretty good at feeling out the bones of a house. Well, I told him and my mom about it and suggested he get it, let me and my kids live there while I help him fix it up. It really just needed some painting and some minor kitchen modernizing. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and the same layout as my brother's house. With this plan, I could get out of his house because at the time I was living with them and it was tense for everyone. My mom seemed on board with the idea, but my dad rolled his eyes and said, I'm not running a charity.
You run your mouth.
Obviously, I broke down crying. He apologized and said some excuse that I don't remember because it was complete BS. Well, I have recently realized, while verbally processing in therapy, that my idea is the exact same concept my ex presented to him. My dad fronts the money, my ex does the work, they split the profits 50-50. I wasn't even presenting to split the profits. I feel like my dad really missed a huge opportunity to help me start my own real estate hustle and teach me how to do what he's doing. He could have helped me get back on my feet and set my kids up for life. Once this realization hit me, it was like I saw my dad in a completely different light. I don't even think he realizes how full of hot air he is. And by the way, you can listen to full episodes chock full of hot air on Spotify and iHeartRadio and Apple Podcasts. Just search OK Storytime, and you can listen to every full episode with stories like this. It seems that they wanted me to be subservient and not to have independence. I think he thought if my life was as hard as possible, I would go back to my ex and shame would have been lifted from my family. So it's just all about the divorce. They're just like
So weird.
absurd Christian, like divorce obsession.
But
Like
they've already divorced. It's like, they've already done it.
you should instead focus on all of the non-Christian things that the husband was doing,
Yeah.
like abusing your daughter.
Like, I'm sorry. Jesus had a lot to say about that. So, you should read the Bible.
But I would have to have walked to heck and back before I did that. Anyways, this is a pretty good picture of the generational wealth my dad likes to talk about. He brags about getting into business with my ex to help his grandkids, but when presented with a way to help their mother, his daughter, now it's a charity. Make it make sense. It won't, because he's just being absurd, and that's the end of that story.
My ex-fiance cheated on me, so I married his best friend.
The Uno reverse card.
I met my ex-fiance when I was 19 years old, female. We met on a website meant for musicians to form bands together. I met my ex, 18 male at the time, let's call him Shane, a couple of days after he reached out to me if I would join his band. This is kind of like a indie comedy plot.
Yeah, from band joining to home wrecking.
Ooh. We had a jam session together, and I guess I was smitten from then. By the way, this comes from Remarkable Ostrich on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. If you want to submit your own story, go submit it there. So he was very charming and charismatic. And even though we didn't start our relationship with the intention of dating solely for music, we ended up forming a romantic relationship. He is from a very wealthy family, like stupid rich, is from the LA relationship, super tall and fun guy. He's very interested in how music can be made with machines with the rise of AI. I graduated a year before while he graduated high school, a couple months after we met. Both of us wanted our independence from living with our parents and decided to move out together since financially it would be easier to afford an apartment where we live with two people contributing. Our intentions were to continue dating while we lived together and made it clear that if anything happened to our relationship, we would be civil and help each other with the apartment until we could fully separate things, the usual spiel. I feel like they're moving in together too quickly.
I mean, it's hard to, it's always relative. Like no two situations are exactly the same, but it is kind of a good rule of thumb.
Dude,
to
I
like
saw
not move in too fast.
Yeah, I mean, like after like maybe a couple of years, a year is pretty quick.
It does change everything.
Yeah. We would be civil and help each other with the apartment until we could fully separate things, the usual spiel. We had only been together a couple of months at this point. We told my parents that we planned to move out together, but that it wasn't anything too serious. Well, make a long story a bit shorter, my parents talked us into getting married.
Oh, no.
My parents are very religious and basically said you might as well get engaged if you're going to be living together. So yeah, we got engaged after only knowing each other for barely 4 months. Bad idea.
I've heard stories where this works really well. I actually heard a story of someone who's been together, they've been together for like 40 plus years and they married with not even a week of knowing each other. But
That
that's
is
a different
crazy.
time, different people,
The
different
amount
culture.
of times that has failed is way more than the amount of times that has succeeded. I guarantee you 90% of 1 week knowing marriages fail.
I would probably even say higher than that. Probably even more.
Oh my God.
98.
Why would you do that? Barely 4 months they've been together. Thanks, Mom and Dad. Not to mention we were literal teenagers. I guess at the time I didn't think much of it. He was nice and we had a lot of interests in common, though there had been a couple of red flags. I swept them under the rug because I had been in a lot worse relationships, don't ask, but we got engaged, things were good, and I was excited. For some context, it's very common to get married at a very young age where I'm from, so it really wasn't all that weird. Are you from Provo, Utah? Because maybe that's
Might be.
Might be. They get married young over there. They get married after 4 months in like Provo, for sure. Yeah. I mean, if you're in college, if you're going to BYU, I did a series with Mormons where I threw a party for 100 Mormons.
I did. I watched that.
Yeah.
I didn't realize. I remember. I mean, I knew about that. I didn't realize that they were 100 Mormons.
Yeah, it was 100
That's
Mormons.
crazy.
And dude, like the fastest people would get married would be like 2 months. And it was normal to have like 9 months to like a year married.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It's very common to get married at a very young age where I'm from, so it really wasn't all that weird. But overall, I was excited. I will come back to the red flags in a bits. Well, we moved in together, and before I knew it, things started to turn sideways. We began fighting. He started ignoring me. He seemed to turn into a completely different person. Looking back now, it feels like he dated me to be able to move out of his mom's house because as soon as we moved in together, he dropped the charm. He became distant and cold and stopped caring for me no matter how much effort I put in.
He replaced his mom with you.
Ugh.
Yep, your dynamic completely changed.
That sucks.
He's
That
got
sucks.
the new
Which
new
is
mom.
why you wait for longer than 4 months, because I don't think you can really tell who someone is in 4 months. You
Also,
haven't seen them
just
in enough context.
Don't let anyone else talk you into getting engaged.
Yeah, exactly. That should be a completely you thing.
But it sounds like they come from a cultural
Yeah.
area where it's like the parents
It's a
really do
thing.
have a
Yeah.
lot of authority over what's going on.
So where does the best friend come into all of this, you might be asking? Well, the best friend, we'll call him Connor, at the time 19 male. Connor and Shane had been good friends since they were kids. I would hear about Connor from my ex all the time, though I'd never met him myself. What's strange to think about now is that my ex would always badmouth Connor, and I remember taking the friend's side. He used to make fun of him for not dating and saying that he needed to date a bunch of girls to get the hang of it. And I remember being super uncomfortable with it. He would also make fun of how he spent his money because Connor would keep his money in savings rather than blowing it on stupid, frivolous things. It sounds like Connor's awesome.
What a teenage thing to make fun of
Yeah,
someone
dude.
for.
You're not buying Jordans and you're putting it into stocks? Ugh.
Check out this financially responsible loser, dude.
Ugh. I remember telling Shane that his friend sounded mature and responsible, and he would shrug it off.
He'd be like, what are you, a dork too?
Yeah.
What are you? Why don't you go put some money in your saving account, nerd?
There was one night where we were playing online games, 3 of us. And I remember my ex continuing to make fun of / ruin the things I was working on.
Minecraft right there.
Knew it.
He's like, you call this a house? He just explodes it.
Connor later told me that he had felt bad and gone in and fixed what Shane had ruined. Connor literally had built you up while Shane is tearing you down.
Yeah, Connor's building you a home.
Yeah.
Shane's blowing it up.
Maybe you should move in with Connor, both
yeah.
in Minecraft and in real life.
I think out of the two, I'm on Team Connor, right?
I didn't know this until later. I remembered my conversation with Connor being quite pleasant as well. But anyways, things with Shane just went downhill real fast. He became a completely different person, and suddenly the red flags stuck out to me, and I felt stupid for dismissing them. He used to make fun of a lot of things about me, but at the time I thought it was like a type of flirting because he never sounded that serious. And I guess I was used to being made fun of for my style, so I took it. Aw.
Year-old flirting.
Yeah. Grow up.
You're gross.
Like me.
Is
You
he
want
like
a kiss on the slide? I guess I was used to being made fun of for my style, so I took it. He also made me throw a bunch of my valuables away before we moved in together, telling me I needed to grow up / move on. I threw away journals, onesie PJs that my mom had bought me that were super comfortable, and dried flowers I had keepsakes. He used to make fun of my orientation as well. I am bi, telling me he didn't mind loving men, but you can't like both. This didn't come out until after we moved in together and became a big point of contention for us since I'd been with a woman before.
I guess he was just like, look, I'm fine competing with half the population.
but
But
not
everybody, you got to pick a side.
And after we moved in together, the taunting and teasing only got worse. He would go hours, sometimes days without speaking a word to me. He would refuse to cuddle with me or want to be near me. I found myself being very lonely for a long time. I was visiting my parents more than normal and spent the night with him a couple of times. Things were just not working. But in case you forgot, we were engaged. And the engagement.
It's
Yeah.
been 4 months, dude. You can end it.
This
Not that big of a
end
deal.
it. End it.
But I think it's hard. They've got to be in a huge echo chamber, a little micro bubble.
Yeah. And
they do
they're
not
living
have
together.
the perspective.
they're living together.
They don't know what normal like relationship paths and boundaries, I guess, are. They got talked into an engagement from their parents, which is like that's
I think you
already
got to break up
weird.
and you got to put some boundaries. Maybe start dating someone else
Oh yeah,
so you won't get back together.
I wouldn't get married for at least another 5 years.
Yeah. And wait 5 years of knowing that person.
At least 5 years.
Oh, man. Because we had gotten engaged, I felt a lot of pressure to stick things out. No!
No.
A whole part of an engagement is like to suss out whether it's going to work
Right.
almost, you
It's
know?
sort of like it's
It's
the
a-
prequel.
It's a marriage light.
It's the prologue or
It's the trial.
yes.
We had booked a venue and bought a dress. My parents were very anxious to get us officially married. Luckily, the date for our wedding had been set for 9 months after we moved in together, giving me time to eventually leave. Good.
Crazy that the timeline is twice as long as you've been together before the marriage happens. That's nuts.
Fast forward and things were over between us. There was no reason for us to stay together. We were miserable. At least I was. He seemed content to do whatever he pleased, lived on his own, have a food pantry, etc. And I decided things were over. Our lease wasn't even 6 months in, so we ended up living together after the breakup. Oh man, I see where this is going.
Oh yeah?
I see you. She's going to be clapping cheeks with his friend while they're still living together. That's what I see.
Wow.
That's fine. I like that. Do again.
Oh, mama. What's that? Do I hear a round of applause? No, it's just OP and the best friend.
That's going to be tough. That's going to be tough. The last week of us living together, okay, we fast forward another 6 months. I had decided to finally do something for myself. John, we're going to get back to the story, but you're old.
You're as old as me now, pal.
I might be as old as you, but I feel like you have oodles more wisdom.
I've got some wisdom in this old noggin.
You got a piece of wisdom for me right now?
Always respect your
And I think the other piece of wisdom that I've learned from John is join OK Storytime memberships.
Yeah, that's freaking right. We have 60 plus hours of exclusive live streams on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
It's only $5 a month, so go to the link in our description, youtube.com/OKOP show/join.
Get it now while I'm still alive.
Now back to the story. Since the last couple of months, I've been trying to do everything to cater to Shane's needs and try and squeeze any amount of love out of him since I was sick of waiting. I had booked my schedule out to pursue my passions. I even booked a tattoo appointment. I was feeling good about myself for the first time in a while. And Shane decided that on the day of my tattoo appointment, he was going to hang out with his friend Connor. I encouraged him and told him to have fun. My tattoo appointment was in the morning, and I was going back later in the afternoon since it was a 4-hour appointment. Lucky for me, you're going to continue to hear that word pop up. I ended up getting back right before my ex and his friend were about to leave. Shane was going to be taking Connor to my grandparents' house without me. We've been working on a camping trailer together, and he was going to show him the progress, but since I was only a couple minutes away, I thought I might as well come since they were going to my grandparents' house. So I got in the car with them, and we went over to the grandparents. Shane was quiet and didn't interact with my family, not out of shyness or discomfort, but more out of cockiness and disinterest. Connor, on the other hand, was being super nice and friendly with my family, and I remember thinking, dang, that's how I want my future husband to treat my family. The only thing my ex did was flash my tattoo to my grandparents after I'd specifically asked him not to say anything since it was a fairly big tattoo in a more private area, and the tattoo itself was an NSFW design.
What?
I wonder
Why
what
are
you
you
got.
going like,
And why are you
you're
flashing that
skipping a
area
lot
to
of
your
steps
grandparents?
before you got to that tattoo, right? Maybe they already have more. I assume not, though, because it seems like they come from a pretty traditional background.
Yeah. I was embarrassed to say the least. The rest of the time spent with the two of them was Shane poking fun at me and Connor for random things, and we had a second of alone with Connor since my ex had to step away for a second. I said, wow, it's kind of rude to both of us, isn't he? We had a bit of a light bulb moment. I sat with those
Spray
feelings for a
bottle.
while after Connor left and I was alone with Shane. The next night, my ex left me alone at the apartment. He decided to stay at his mom's house and left with my thoughts. I decided to reach out to Connor since he would know Shane better than most, being his friend. I DM'd him on Instagram and I asked if I could talk to him. We ended up having a really long couple-hour phone call late into the night where Connor basically told me that my ex had always been that way. Rude, dismissive, cold, always starting arguments with people. This was the night me and Connor realized that he had been treating both of us terribly. Connor, for many years, even before I got in the picture, we both realized we needed to get out. I ended up calling my mom the next morning and my family came and helped me move out of the shared apartment that same day. And even though me and Shane had agreed to be civil in the beginning and help each other out if we ever broke up, Shane refused to help me cover rent and find new people to take over the lease. I ended up having to drain my savings account to cover our last month's rent, but lucky for me, I was able to find a nice couple to take over the lease. That's nice. I apologize that the story is so long. You really do need all the context. Well, according to Connor, my ex had told him everything that had been going on with Shane and I's relationship before they hung out. He had told Connor that I was a B and that I was crazy. Isn't that always the case? This week that I'd gone out to do things for myself, find myself again, he told Connor that I had lost my mind and was going insane.
That's the typical response when it's like,
Oh,
oh,
wow.
she's not doing exactly what I want her to anymore. She must have lost her
He
mind.
told me that I wasn't home most nights. I was out interviewing for my dream job, and he had decided to get a tattoo out of nowhere. I'd planned it for 2 weeks, but I guess that is a spur of the moment kind of thing. All I can say is, lucky for me, Connor decided to hear me out before just fully trusting Shane. Even though Shane and I had broken up, me and Connor decided to keep in touch and help each other through the breakups we both had with Shane, because I guess Connor had broken up with Shane Shane because he was a bad friend.
Yeah.
Mine being romantic and Connor's being the end of a friendship. Connor was super sweet and we would text throughout the day. I'd always thought fondly of him with everything Shane had told me about him, and he came off very genuine and caring, and you can't have enough people like that in your life.
That's right. I mean, hey, if you had to be with this absolute stinker of a guy,
Scumbag.
Shane, to end up with Connor,
Stinker, I like that.
you know, it's kind of like The Alchemist. Although
Everything
I
is
think-
like The Alchemist.
I think maybe like the timeline could have been a little like
Expedited.
when
to be fair, the
trust your gut,
timeline
people.
was expedited.
Trust your gut though. It's like I feel like your gut might have told you sooner that things were wrong.
Yeah.
Trust your gut, people. Your
Yeah.
gut is almost never wrong.
Well, I feel like Opie's gut, like she registered that things were wrong, but was just,
Once her and Connor
told-
started talking, it
yeah.
was like, oh, it's very clear now.
Yeah.
This is messed up.
I was having a rough time with the breakup, mostly the frustration of living with my parents again and being out of routine. So Connor offered to get me out of the house as a means to try and help make me feel better. He offered to take me to a little science museum, cute, which I thought was sweet because most people I would talk to would just want to hang out, and I appreciated the effort. Long story short,
Long story short, take your dates to the science museum.
dude, the science center, great date spot.
I would agree.
Long story short, our science museum hangout ended up turning into a date. And just a couple of days later, we had our first kiss.
No way! And then a week
Oh,
after that, we
God.
got engaged. No, I mean, no,
Dude.
just kidding. We learned that lesson already.
I felt really safe with him, and he was allowing me to be myself. I could be goofy and silly, and he would smile rather than give me a dirty look. I was finally feeling like myself again. Before you judge me too harshly, remember the title of this post, Married and Happily.
Yes.
Well, like I said in the title, our unintentionally petty love story, we're going to get into.
So now we're just now getting into it. I want to
been
let you know
30 minutes.
we've been into it, and it's a
30
good story. We love it.
We love it. Well, like I said in our title, our unintentionally petty love story. So let's get into it. When I was dating Shane for music reasons, he had introduced me to a song he wrote called Moab, meaning mother of all bombs, but I took it as, oh, isn't there a place called Moab?
There is a place called Moab.
I ended up looking up this place and found that there were incredible national parks there and became obsessed with the delicate arch. When me and Shane were together, I begged and pleaded with him to go on a trip with me to Moab, but every time I brought it up, there was an excuse. So when we broke up, I decided to book a trip myself. I planned to go alone, but at this point, me and Connor had become a lot closer, and he offered to go with me since he felt it would be probably safer to not go by myself. So we ended up staying the week in Moab together. Unintentionally petty, number one, this trip was over Shane's birthday.
Uh-oh.
I didn't plan for that, and originally I thought I was going to go by myself, but me and Connor ended up going together to the place that I asked Shane to take me so many times.
Also, Shane doesn't have any right to be upset about anything because he was blowing up your Minecraft house. And who was the
Shane
man rebuilding
is
it?
a piece of poop.
Connor.
I had only planned on going down for that day, but luckily I didn't because there was so much to see and I wouldn't have been able to do it all if I only was there a day. Connor booked the hotel and everything because he knew how important it was for me. Connor is the best.
Connor is good.
And when I
you've got
saw
good
the
one.
delicate arch for the first time, I cried because it had really become an important part of me as I had painted it many times and even had it painted on my guitar. Seeing it for the first time was so special to me, and having Connor by my side, knowing he put in all this effort to help me accomplish my goal, was so meaningful. That's awesome. Unintentional petty number two. Me and Connor decided to get an apartment together. And can you guess what our move-in date was? Well, we moved in the day me and Shane were supposed to have gotten married. You can't make this stuff up. That was the only day the apartment complex had available in the time frame we were looking for. We sat in our balcony in our new apartment and ate pizza together over a wedding that luckily never happened.
I feel like that's a good omen.
Yeah,
You're like-
going back to our favorite book, The Alchemist, this is an omen.
It's all about
that you
the
should pay
omens.
attention. It's all about the
All
omens.
about the omens.
Luckily never happened. Also forgot to mention that Shane had wanted Connor to be his best man, officiate our wedding. And unintentional petty number three, Shane introduced me to some new music while we were together. One band in particular struck with me. I ended up introducing Connor to my music, and funny enough, he ended up clinging to the band Shane showed me. The song Shane and I were supposed to dance to for our first dance was by this band. Connor didn't know this, and a few months after we moved in together, we were at that band's concert with the VIP tickets. It is now Connor's favorite band. Say what you will about Shane, but he had some good music taste.
Apparently,
By the way-
Connor approves.
Yeah. And by the way, if you want to have good tastes in podcasts, you should listen to our podcast where we release every day, multiple times a day on the OK Storytime podcast.
That's right.
So,
Spotify,
yeah.
Apple Podcasts, wherever you get podcasts, just search us. Search
search
OK
us.
Storytime. And then you can treat your ears to a nice, tasty little delight.
Unintentional petty number 4. Remember how I told you that Shane had written a song called Moab? Well, I also write music, and since my and Connor's first road trip had been to Moab, I decided to write a song of my own called Moab.
Oh.
I am also a songwriter. And guess what? Me and my friends recorded it, and Moab was the song me and Connor danced to at our wedding a year later.
Oh, good omen.
Moab became such a special place to us that our wedding cake topper was the Delicate Arch. We even got engaged at the Delicate Arch. They got engaged at the Delicate Arch. Oh my
Arch
gosh.
is like
All because of my ex.
carrying this relationship.
All of this to say I'm the happiest I've ever been, and now I am with the sweetest, most caring man I've ever known. We've been together for almost 3 years now, been married almost 2 years, and bought our first house 2 years ago. We're now expecting our first baby and couldn't be happier.
The first of many, I'm sure.
That is so freaking cute. OP, you deserve it after that absolute cluster of terribleness that was your last relationship.
It takes rain and sunshine to make a rainbow. I think the moral is that when you feel red flags popping up, right? It's best to really pay attention.
Indeed.
Regardless of how long you've been with somebody. Life is about constantly like assessing what's going on around you, right? If you like turn off the eyeballs and you just like are floating around, life starts happening to you instead of the other way around.
Yeah.
Like you don't want life to be just something that's happening.
And life will give you signs of where to go.
That's all about the omens.
It's all about the omens.
You can just read the omens.
There are omens everywhere.
Yes.
And you have to open your eyes to them. Open your field of vision. Don't have blinders on. Just then you'll see, oh, wow.
Indeed.
My ex-boyfriend's mistress exposed him, so I got him fired.
Oh, is that a double exposed?
Double exposed.
Double exposure.
This story takes place almost 12 years ago, so I'll do my best with the dialogue and details, but admittedly, some things are a little fuzzy. Most of my life, I've had a problem picking men that were not good for me, you know? Sometimes men that are deadbeats, or sometimes men that just, fart in your face a little bit.
Sometimes it's, you can't bat 1,000. You know what I
Can't
mean?
bat 1,000.
You're going to have some swings and you're going to have some misses.
Yeah. You're going to have some farts in the wind.
Yeah. Sometimes, I'll leave it at that.
So much so that I even had a phrase for it: saving the world one moron at a time. One of my more spectacularly bad choices was a guy of the name of Bob, obviously not his real name. By the way, this comes from JennaBear7897 on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So I met Bob when I was working one of my 2 jobs at the local mall. He worked somewhere else in the mall, so we hit it off, and soon enough, we were in a relationship. Within a few months, my lease was up, and we ended up moving in together. Bad idea. Stop moving in too quick.
Why are we doing this? Get more time in between those 2 events.
So bad. Which obviously in hindsight was a huge mistake, but I was dumb and lonely. Soon enough, red flags began to fly. He would say things in common conversation that were simply incorrect, like there's only 4 continents, and the rest are actually owned by the Martian government, and thus don't count.
That's got to be not a real example,
I'm
right?
intrigued.
I think, Riley's like, yes. And when challenged, would circular talk until you either agreed with him or dropped the subject. He'd also make claims that seemed entirely unbelievable, such as when I asked where he had been staying prior to his mom's house, and he said, camped in the woods.
Yeah, camped in the woods.
No big deal.
Just me camping in the woods. No big deal.
Yeah, so I could fight for you.
I'm
If
low-key-
everything went to crap, I got a spear making in my head. I could hunt the wild buffalo for you.
Kind of a mountain man.
Yeah.
You remember that guy Bear Grylls?
That's me.
Bear Grylls wishes he was me.
When I asked how he did that for months on end without any gear, he simply gestured to himself and said, "This is all the gear I need."
He actually did it.
The worst trait, though, by far, was Epic laziness. I've never witnessed someone so lazy in my life. Bob was unemployed for over a third of our relationship and would simply sit in the apartment watching Netflix or playing some war game on his computer, aka my spare computer, typing away in the group chat. He would never clean up after himself, leaving dirty dishes in the sink and filth on every surface while only taking a shower maybe once a week. I mean,
Well,
he's used to the forest.
He's just, he's maintaining his microbiome. I
Yeah.
don't know what you want him to do about that.
Every time you shower, you ruin the natural there's a little bacteria that regulate your body.
You're actually dirtier. the
You're
more that
actually
you shower.
dirtier. Exactly.
Mhm.
The smell that permeated my apartment could only be described as revolting and could easily gag a maggot. And this is someone that she chose to live with.
Yeah, that's quite a perplexing little mental puzzle there, isn't it?
OP, like at some point, it's kind of on you,
But what are the ages here? Like, do we have any
Do we
life
have
experience
ages?
had yet at
It was
all?
12 years ago.
Yeah, so probably not. Probably pretty.
I mean, I would hope so.
Well,
I would hope it was, because this is crazy.
don't let a stinky man who showers once a week and doesn't clean anything, including himself, run anything
Gross.
about your life.
I would inquire a few times a week on his job hunt, only to be dismissed or given a growing amount of excuses such as, but I don't have a car. How would I get there? The bus doesn't run in that area. The internet went down, so I couldn't apply, etc., etc.
I'm sorry, this guy's a loser.
He's a big loser.
Loser.
Meanwhile, I am working double and triple shifts at my job to try to make up the lost income and running him all over town in my off time, getting applications and helping him fill them out and turn them in. Keep in mind, he doesn't have a cell phone, and all of these apps have my contact info on them. Thus begins the era of him holding my phone while I'm at work so he can make calls or schedule interviews, as well as I can get a hold of him from my store phone if I needed to. Why are you dating this guy? Things began getting weird. He began staying up later and later on this group chat, sometimes till almost dawn. Sometimes we would hang out all evening until it was time to go to bed. Then he would always make up some excuse for why he needed to check the game before bed, and he'd be right there. Hours would pass, and no Bob.
That's just
I began to get suspicious, but nothing incriminating seemed to be taking place, so I just shrugged it off as me being insecure. Then he started asking to use my car to go see his best friend, Ben. Now, I wasn't super comfortable with this, but I did know Ben pretty well. We got along almost better than Bob, and I did so, I guess, to a degree. I trusted Ben more than Bob and agreed to it. Well, this happened a few times while I was working the evening shift, and he was always back at the allotted time with my car, my phone, and relatively grateful for the opportunity to hang with his buds. But I'm the kind of person that is loyal and trusting to a fault and doesn't assume anything without proof. And from every angle, all seem to be on the up and up. So I took it at face value. What do you think Bob's doing?
I think Bob's getting a little freaky.
Getting a little freaky.
Freak Bob.
Bob in that head.
Bobby's getting a little
Getting a little frisky.
get a little loose in the goose. You know what I'm saying?
He's inviting someone else into his tent.
He's yes, that's right. His tent is full, which is insane to me. How are people lining up to be with this guy?
Because he's hot.
He must be. I
He
keep
must be
forgetting
hot.
that. Ugh.
But doesn't assume anything without proof. And from every angle, all seem to be on the up and up. So I took it at face value. So one day, he has to borrow my car and go with his friends to a card gaming tournament. He put on a great show telling me how the prize money would help us out. And with the deck he had, no way we could lose. I just had to let him use my car and phone this one last time that he would be able to buy himself a phone with prize money. I wasn't a huge fan of the idea, but nothing untoward had occurred to the previous instances, and I didn't feel like spending my only day off at the card game convention that I literally couldn't care less about. So I acquiesced. I bought myself a couple green monsters and some vodka and had my own little personal wasted party.
Oh no, babe.
Hours tick by and no Bob. Eventually I pass out only to wake up at the crack of dawn, violently sick. This went way beyond a hangover. I started retching in the bathroom until there was nothing left but bile.
Oh my
But
god.
the retching wouldn't stop. Hours ticked by and I lay on the bathroom floor, sweating and convulsing with no phone, no car, no Bob. I eventually was able to crawl to my room and wrap myself in a bathrobe before crawling down my apartment building stairs and began knocking on the closest doors. It took 3 apartments before someone opened the door and allowed me to use their phone to call my mom. My mother was at my apartment in 6 minutes flat and rushed me to the ER where I was diagnosed with an aggressive and antibiotic resistant strain of C. diff. What's that? What is C. diff? So it wasn't a hangover. Oh man.
Yeah, I was about to be like, well, that's why we don't stay again. But like, that's wild. Also, how do I know this is in America?
Monster.
Because
and
mom had
vodka.
to come drive her to the ER instead of calling the $5,000 ambulance.
A bacterium that causes a common healthcare associated infection is spread through contact with contaminated surfaces. Symptoms include yikes.
I wonder who contaminated your surface with a strange bacteria. Could it be the once weekly shower man who lives in a tent in the woods?
And he's immune. He's like Columbus coming in with some of that fresh smallpox.
That's
Yep.
why he doesn't shower, because
You
if he
know,
does, he loses
he
his
loses his
immunity
immunity.
to all of his
Antibodies are gone.
bacteria.
Yeah.
Oh,
Bob
God.
finally showed up later that afternoon with phone card and keys in hand, looking very concerned and claiming to be deeply apologetic. But my mom hated him from that point on. I was out of the hospital and back to work within a few days, but it was the beginning of the end, hopefully of not you, but the relationship. During these last months, we were constantly scraping by due to his lack of consistent income and poor spending habits. There were jobs gotten, there were jobs lost for various reasons throughout our relationship, but the final job was one I helped him get literally 3 buildings down from my own workplace. This company rents furniture and electronics on a weekly/monthly basis, and I happen to know most of the employees and the hiring manager as they are regular customers at my coffee establishment. I was able to use what little sway I had to get him on there, and he accepted a job as a delivery man. Within a few weeks, I come home from work to find a brand new TV and entertainment system and him grinning like an idiot. I tell him, we can't afford this. We can barely afford to eat and are surviving off scraps I bring home from work. He talks about his amazing employee discount and assures me it's no big deal, that the rental fee will just come out of his check. I was pissed. Not only had he not consulted me, he also had me on the account as well. My info had been taken from the credit app I filled out as a favor to help their numbers. So if he flaked, I was liable. So basically,
Crime. Is this crime? This feels like fraud.
this feels
crime.
like fraud. Oh my God. Fast forward another few weeks, the rent is late and we are receiving eviction notices on our door. Come home from work and the TV is mysteriously gone. Thank goodness, I think. He finally realized he can't afford it and took it back. He gets paid, rent gets paid, and all is good as it can be until I found a pawn slip for the TV in his pocket. So I was doing laundry and went ballistic. He assured me he had plans to get it back in the works and to not worry about it. Wait.
He said, "Don't worry, baby. It's in the works.
Wait, really quick.
I've got stuff cooking in my tent."
So OP rented the TV?
Yeah.
Rent-a-center. Which is crazy that you pawned a
rented
TV
item
that does not belong to you.
And now you're going to have to pay it back.
Which is the most tent guy behavior I think you could have
Honestly,
in the civilized world.
Infinite money glitch. You know, you rent a TV for like $5 a month.
Right.
Then you pawn it.
You do that.
You get $500.
You do that as many times as you can.
And you just keep doing it.
Until they say, "Hey, can we have our TV back?" As soon as they ask you, you go back into your tent in the woods and you never leave.
And now you have $1 million.
And now you have all this money to spend on takeout that can be delivered to your tent in the woods.
And now you can tip your Postmates delivery guy who's
well,
coming
let's
to
not
your...
get carried away, okay? What are we, a guy in a house and not in a tent?
He assured me he had plans to get it back, this TV that he bought.
The Rent-A-Center
he
TV.
sold in the works, and to not worry about it. It will be taken care of soon, and no one will be the wiser. I was too pissed to catch on to the secrecy aspect of the situation.
I just remembered a very sad, tragic tale.
Oh, what is it?
I remember when a young Samuel Donner, he wanted to join the cool kids, but instead of labeling you as one of the cool kids,
They called me Salad Boy because I ate nothing but salads. Could not trade my lunch for a lunch bowl, really anything.
You know what community will always welcome you with open arms, Sam?
And make you feel like a cool kid?
The great people who have OK Storytime memberships.
Oh, I heard that 60 plus hours of members only content Monday, Wednesday, Fridays.
You heard right, Sam, and it's only $5 a month.
So go to the link in our description, youtube.com/OKOP show/join. Now back to the story.
Chomp, chomp.
A few more tense weeks go by with him working mornings and myself working evenings while we share one phone and a car until that fateful day arrived. I woke up that morning with a migraine headache and opted to let Bob take the car, but leave me the phone so I can call someone later for a ride for work. A few hours of uncomfortable sleep go by, and I'm awoken by my phone. I answered the phone, still groggy, said hello. There's a long pause on the other end of the line until a female voice asks, is Bob here?
There's no way.
How? Bob must be so hot to be this deadbeat and attracting this much female
He's
attention.
using his girlfriend's phone to cheat on his girlfriend.
That's bold.
That's insanity.
That's bold. I felt a sickening feeling in my guts and began to shake. Is this real? Am I dreaming? No, he's at work right now. This is his wife. Total lie, but hey, is there something I can help you with?
Dang.
Also, they're just girlfriend, boyfriend, but
yeah.
OP's trying to figure out what this person is. I wasn't rused. I phrased it as a genuine question rather than accusation. Another long pause before she began to stammer about maybe she had the wrong number, but it was obvious. She just wanted to get off the phone with me as quickly as possible, and I realized in that moment that I desperately needed her. Please, I said with an edge of desperation in my voice. I don't know what's going on, but I just really need somebody to tell me the truth.
Wow.
The last word came out in a sob.
That's
And I sat there for a moment in silence, trying to quell the urge to just cry uncontrollably. Listen, the voice on the other end was almost gentle. I need to make a few phone calls, but I promise I will call you back.
Wow.
She said it calmly and with so much conviction that I actually wanted to believe her. Please, you promise? I almost begged. I promise, she replied.
But at this point, we know what's going on.
Yeah, he's cheating.
There's no not knowing what that is.
I took a deep breath and released it. I'll talk to you soon, and hung up. I then proceeded to aggressively pace my living room floor, staring at my phone while chain smoking and muttering to myself like a crazy person. I knew who she was calling. I was relaying all those little red flag moments in my head from the last few months, pinning down dates or behavior I'd found suspect when the phone rings again. And it's her. I froze for a moment, shocked. She followed through and called me back, terrified of what this meant. I answered the phone, and what followed was about the most soul-crushing 45 minutes
Whoa.
of my life.
It takes 45 minutes to admit you cheated.
After initial introductions, June, again, not a real name, and I began comparing stories, and it became glaringly obvious what was happening. They had been in a relationship several years prior and had run... Okay, wait, I thought the relationship had started several years prior and it was continuing. No. They had been in a relationship several years prior
Yeah.
and had run back into each other on the aforementioned war game where they began to flirt on a group chat.
No
All
way.
those nights he'd been on the computer, he'd been chatting with her.
No way.
All those times he'd go out and hang with his friends, he was using my car to take her out and my phone to communicate with her. The time I was sick and alone with no resources, you guessed it, he was with her, but it gets better.
Both of these girls need to realize their self-worth.
Do you have a little silver hummingbird necklace? She inquired. Yes, my mother gave it to me for my 27th birthday. Actually, I love it. Really? She said, because he gave me one for my Mother's Day.
Wait a minute. Did he steal his girlfriend's necklace and give it to his ex that he's been seeing on the side while he, the stinky tent man with unwashed genitalia, is he still in the tent? What's going on?
OP says, OMG. I almost yelled into the phone as I ran to my room and tore through my jewelry box. It wasn't in there. It was around her neck.
This man's going to jail. I don't know why this is. It just feels like, ooh. I feel like because if I had a partner who got rid of these rings that my grandma gave me, I would absolutely become unhinged with rage.
I mean, didn't get rid of.
For all intents and purposes, he
just
did.
regifted.
Until she found out she exists.
Yeah, but
Ooh.
it's kind of like renting a TV. You know, he's gonna get it back. He's just renting the rings. He's just renting.
I just got in on the story, and I don't like this guy.
From there, we discovered not only had he been giving her my property as gift, but he had her over to our apartment, passing it off as his own.
Yo, so she's too good for the tent, huh?
I didn't want to believe he was capable of doing something so cruel and disrespectful when I've allowed him to sponge off me for the better part of 3 years. Man doesn't know what a sponge is. Unfortunately, as in confirmation, she began describing my apartment to a T all the way down to my bed sheets. June said he even pulled my secret box from beneath my bed and offered to use my adult items on her.
Now it's like, I'm pretty sure this is jail. Like,
That's gross.
you need your
That's
own
so gross.
your own special jail underneath
Oh
jail
my God.
that only you
Melo
are
said,
held
man
in.
is bold.
She said she found it weird and didn't partake, but I threw them away due to the sheer ick factor. Finally, she uttered the words I didn't want to hear. You know what we should do? We should bust him together.
No, I don't
Poor
think
choice of words.
I don't think
Yeah,
he
very,
deserves
very
that.
poor choice of words there, Batman.
Very poor choice. We all made the same joke a different way at the same time. I was like, it feels like he doesn't deserve any of that.
No,
Busting
my
and
mind
dusting.
immediately started racing. Indeed, we should. I was a mix of fury, adrenaline, despair. So my thinking wasn't exactly straight, and details begin to get hazy here. We arranged to meet up at work and find a way to lure Bob over there. But unfortunately, she lived about 40 minutes away, whereas I only live about 6 miles from our destination. So if I got there first, I'd need to stall him, assuming he wasn't out on a delivery. I called a trusted coworker of mine at work, sobbing and begging for a ride. To his everlasting credit, he got somebody to cover and left work to come get me and bring me to my car. When I got to Bob's workplace, I went inside to retrieve my keys. This isn't uncommon as they know the car is mine, and was stopped halfway through the store by Bob's manager wanting to talk about the payment due on our account. Remember?
What?
Remember the TV Bob rented from his workplace, saying, he could pay it back, and then pawned off that account through which he rented it had both Bob and OP in name.
So
now OP's on the hook for this rented, stolen, pawn TV.
I think you explain your situation. I think you explain your entire situation.
Oh my God.
And you get out of this. And if clearly you leave, you change your locks, you deep clean the apartment, and you burn his tent down as well.
Burn the tent. Burn everything down.
Because apparently the tent's full of C. diff anyway.
I am pissed.
Ay, ay, ay.
We got more. I don't remember the exact dialogue, but I said something along the lines of, look, I don't know when you're going to get your payment. Looked utterly defeated and told him we could never afford the TV in the first place, and how I had begged Bob to take it back, and now we don't have it anymore as Bob has pawned it, and I don't have the money to get out, let alone pay him. I was full on blubbering at this moment when he stopped me to clarify that his employee pawned a rental TV under contract. I confirmed that this was indeed true and presented him with a pawn ticket. He was mad.
Yeah,
apparently,
no wonder.
No crap. Apparently, such an act is illegal and his terms for immediate termination. Yeah, but he assured me that if I could get the TV back to him, there would be no harm, no foul, and he would terminate my contract without any penalties. I thanked him for his understanding and told him to let Bob know I would be over at my workplace. My heart is pounding in my chest and blood is roaring in my ears. What was I going to say? What was he going to say? Would June make it here before he did? My heart sinks when I see Bob's hulking form making its way in my direction. Hulking in like a sexy way?
I'm thinking like
or like just big.
Yeah, like a Hulk.
Boom, 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 boom.
Oh God.
I frantically scan the parking lot for June's car. She's not here yet, and I'm out of time. He hits the door looking out of breath and guilty as heck, and I just stare at him, stone-faced. I walk outside silently to light a cig, unsure of what exactly to say, and he follows me wordlessly outside. He starts in with, "It's not what it seems. And it's all just a terrible misunderstanding," and I just let him dig himself deeper and deeper into his hole of lies. I listen, I nod, I pretend to understand until a particular car pulls into view.
Ah, yes.
June parks in the
Raggy.
space directly next to where we were standing, gets out of the car. "Hey, Bob, how you doing?" Bob has gone visibly pale, and again, June is the other person Bob was hooking up with.
The ex, a former ex.
A former ex. He hangs his head and sits down at the curb, saying nothing to either of us. June and I greet each other and awkwardly shake hands before again returning our attention to Bob. June begins berating him on his lies and deceit, unveiling all of our mutual info and subsequent conclusions, while I stood mostly in silence, agreeing at the appropriate times, but mostly still in shock. After 20 minutes of this, I finally mustered up the courage to take my stand. "We are done. I don't want to see your things ever again. I'll pack up your things. Only $2 worth, and your sister can come contact me in a few days to pick them up. Now, I want your key." I held out my hand and looked at him. He says, "Not until I get my stuff out. Then you get your key," he replied. I tried to argue, but he continued to refuse and used his large stature to his advantage, knowing I'd have no chance in a physical altercation. He turned and walked away, heading back towards his workplace.
So just really quick, that's the moment that you call your landlord or wherever that you say, "Hey, the locks need to be changed." Immediately you explain the situation, and that's what they do.
Yeah.
Say you
But
want it
the
done,
thing
you need it
is,
done today.
It is hard to do that if he's on the lease. But is he on the lease?
I don't think he is.
He may not be on the lease, so then you can change the locks. No problem.
I would.
If he is on the lease, the landlord may not do that.
How could he be on the lease? What income did he have? It's
True.
It's like there's
How
no
would he be
way
on the
he's
lease?
getting put on that lease.
I mean, you could have her as a guarantor.
Does she make enough for that?
Yeah, I mean, as long as you can afford it,
I
then
don't know.
you can guarantee it.
But yeah, that's
He turned and walked away, heading back towards his workplace. June and I talked a little bit more before she handed me my hummingbird necklace and left. I stood there alone, staring at nothing, trying to wrap my head around what just transpired. Then I cried. Oh, how I cried. With nowhere else to turn, I had only one call to make to my mom. The moment she answered, I unleashed this deluge of words at her that were half sobs, half rant. Stay right there, I'm coming, she said. God bless my mother. Soon enough, both of my parents pull up in my dad's truck and my mom gets out to confront me or to comfort me and give me hugs. I look at the driver's seat and see my father with his jaw clenched and a death grip on the steering wheel while staring straight ahead. They take me to the pawn shop and my parents write a check for more than $500 to get the TV out.
Oh my God.
We then drive straight over to Bob's workplace and return the TV to the manager. As the manager finishes up the cancellation paperwork, my dad spots Bob pacing around the back of the parking lot, talking frantically on the phone. Unfortunately, I didn't get to hear the ensuing conversation, but my dad returned with a few minutes holding my house keys and looking victorious.
Nice.
Let's go, Dad. I believe this is yours.
Yes.
He says and hands me the key and then pulls me into a hug, and I cried a little into his shoulder. My dad gave me a squeeze, kissed me on the temple, and whispered into my ear, they are firing him.
Good. Go back to your tent.
Deserved.
You stinking, pitiful
Slop, man. I leaned back to look at my dad, and he just smirked and said, now he's jobless and homeless. Go into the tent with which you came. I thought about it for a moment before I said, in my most sarcastic tone, oh no, I'm so sorry about that. We laughed about it a little, and my parents gave me some words of wisdom before leaving me to drive myself home, where my best friend was already waiting to keep me company. Bob and his sister showed up a few days later for his pitiful boxes of stuff. He tried to talk to me, to explain, but my best friend descended on him like a harpy if he muttered more than a few syllables in my direction, so he was shut down almost immediately. Goat friend, goat dad.
True.
And also goat ex-lover. June came in clutch.
Yes, June was being deceived as well.
Say what you will about Bob, good taste in women.
I mean, in a way, you're not wrong.
No.
But unfortunately, they first could not be, the spell of his woodsman musk could not be overcome until it was just so
so
clear.
Obvious. So clear. Yeah. He left that night, and I've never heard from him since. I blocked him on social media, but there was no really need to do that as he made no effort to contact me on any level. That's Bob, ever lazy, ever deluded, and always an a-hole. So here I am, many years later, married to my high school sweetheart and the mother of two beautiful little boys, and grateful to have moved on when I did. The experience with Bob certainly took its toll. I lost a lot of weight due to a lack of appetite, but had a myriad of trust issues moving forward. But the point is, I moved forward.
That's right.
By the way, if you want to move forward with your life, put us in your ear holes every day, every second, every hour of your life by going to our podcast, OK Storytime, wherever you get your podcast. You can listen while you're doing other stuff. It's great.
Just search it up.
Search OK Storytime.
OK Storytime.
Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcast. Come on, do it. There's another relevant update. So I have grown leaps and bounds as a person since this experience and am truly content with where my life is now. But every now and then, when I'm drifting off to sleep, I can't help but wonder, whatever happened to good old Bob?
Good. Don't you dare call him good old Bob.
Bad old Bob. Bad Bobby.
Stinky, terrible Bob.
Yeah, there's alliteration with Bad Bobby.
Bad
Call
Bobby.
him Bad Bobby. BB.
Big bad Bob.
Is he out there somewhere in the woods with a stick and his wits and only his gear, waiting for a Martian government to make its move? Ah, well, a girl can dream.
Oh.
Thank you so much for reading. I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to message me with any questions or comments. Edits, since this seems to be a minor point of contention, I would like to better explain the mention of Netflix on early on the post. I realized by the way it's phrased, it may have given you the wrong impression. He was not streaming Netflix, as streaming wasn't much of a thing then. He would just have a revolving door of movies he'd chosen on disc coming and going from the house. Beyond that, he busied himself playing my PS2, being the bane on society and general baggery.
We forgot at the beginning of this story, not only is Bob a stinky man in the tent who showers once a week, he thinks there's only 4 continents and 3 of them are owned by the Martian government.
Wait, what?
Dude.
Which makes them not continents, I guess. Well, I don't know what that means.
I don't know. It kind of means, I think he's on to something.
It's like if a Martian bought your house, is it still a house? What is it now?
No, it's a Martian house. It's not a people house.
This guy.
I think this guy knows some things we don't.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah, he does know some things we
from
don't
the
know because
future.
he knows
They're
nonsense.
dumb.
My greedy ex-stepmother wants a part of the inheritance I left to my stepbrother. I refuse.
The only thing you're going to inherit is my fists if you come close. Pow, 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 pow.
Now, all names have been changed, of course. I can't properly tell the story without quite a bit of backstory, so I apologize for how long this is going to be. So buckle up, partner.
You know we live a long one.
This one comes from Zesty Closed Oven 2401. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to r/OKStorytime subreddit. send him in. So my stepdad, yeah, we'll call him George, was previously married to essentially a groupie of his hometown band. Let's call her Barb. Barb stalked him for a bit before they got together, and they had a very 90s rocker wedding. Very shortly after, they had a child together. Let's call them Sam.
Actually,
Wow.
I
Think I'm joking?
I'm the son of some rockers. That's kind of fun.
I'm as real as it gets, partner. About a year after Sam was born, it came out that Barb was having an affair. George then moved into the spare room while he looked for an apartment, and Barb decided to move that new boyfriend in. Of course, George made a point to get out of that house as quickly as possible, but still help Barb financially because he wanted to ensure baby Sam was taken care of. Sam was everything to George, and he would walk through fire for them. Fast forward a couple of years, and my mom and I entered into his life. I am 7 years older than Sam. Their relationship was like that out of a storybook, talking about Opie's mom and stepdad George. They're 100% goals. My mother is also on the spectrum, and he has been able to navigate her quirks in a beautiful and loving way. They got married, and our little family of 2 became a family of 4. George wasn't just an amazing father to Sam, he also stepped up for me the second him and my mother got together. My own relationship with my bio father is rocky, and stepdad George filled the void I needed in a father. He was always there for me no matter what. I'll forever be thankful for my super dad, regardless of blood relation. Barb was also more involved in our lives than she should have been because stepdad George wanted to do everything he could to have as much time and involvement in Sam's life as possible. But Barb is an opportunist and will use people till the very last drop. She got stepdad George to pay for not only child support, which he happily paid, but also all of her bills, rent, and food. Sometimes to the point where our own pantry was bare. Now, this woman would turn around and bribe Sam on George's weekends with things like trips to Disneyland, water parks, concerts, and once a trip to Europe. Essentially, oh, it's too bad you're going to your dad's. We're going to Disneyland, the park, Europe. She also managed to willingly have an affair with her married coworker and had a child with him. We'll call this child's affair baby Taylor. And at one point, we had both Sam and affair baby Taylor stay with us for a couple of weeks, but I never found out the reason why. Just that Barb was having an issue she needed to deal with, and we needed to have both kids at our house during that time. Sam also hated coming to our house because we lived on an acreage in a rural area. A lot of rural stuff going on today. Whereas Sam and Barb lived closest to the city about an hour away. Sam also didn't like it that our house had rules that both my mom and stepdad George made sure were followed. These were reasonable rules as well, but like Barb, Sam has never been held accountable. So I think we're getting some, Sam isn't all, all peaches and cream.
Well, I
over
mean,
here.
with a mom like Barb, how can you expect Sam to be a good kid? Like, it's going to be pretty hard.
Raised to be a lone ranger. What's a villain out in the Wild Wild West called?
A bandit.
A bandit.
Raised to be a bandit.
Oh, God. Now, Sam's attitude and behavior towards stepdad George would make me so angry because they had a wonderful father who wanted nothing more than to be present and loving, while I had a father who was apathetic to my existence. I just couldn't understand why Sam took stepdad George for granted constantly. I also would like to mention that George was really calming and pleasant to be around. He just gave off the best energy. Then, 12 years ago, we experienced the worst situation we could have ever imagined for our family. So when I was 25 years old, I moved back home after a very rough breakup. Stepdad George and my mom immediately wanted me to come home, and I honestly needed my mom and dad. So I promptly moved back. There were lots of ups and downs for me at the time, but stepdad George and my mom were my safe space. George was a wealth of wisdom and advice. He helped me find my center again after having my whole world dumped upside down. 6 months after my return home, stepdad George gets really sick. It was during flu season, so we figured that was the problem. But it wasn't the flu, and he just got worse.
Oh, no.
Eventually,
no.
He got so weak,
No.
he could barely get out of bed.
Why is it the good that young?
It's always the good one.
No, why can't it be the bad or ugly?
Barb. But after some convincing, we got him to agree to go to the emergency room. As my mom and I are practically carrying him into the car, George collapses while in our driveway and is completely unresponsive. We call 911 and he is rushed in the ambulance to the nearest hospital.
No.
George spends the next 3 days fighting for his life, and after the third day, he is pronounced brain unalive. Wow. He had multiple viruses causing a perfect storm that shut down his body. This is a reminder to take illness very seriously. We all said our goodbyes, and my mom gave the call to take him off of life support.
Oh.
When I tell you,
I'm not unconvinced that Barb slipped a little something.
if that was Barb, then when we say jail, like jail.
I'm not trying to point fingers. Barb. The Barb did it.
If that
Barb did it. I don't want to give Barb too much credit, honestly, but if anyone could, it would be Barb.
she needs to go straight to eternity prison if that's true. Opie says, when I tell you this absolutely destroyed my mother, she was catatonic for a bit. So I was thankful that I was living back home so I could care for her as her world was crumbling. I helped her with the funeral arrangements and helped with all the little things that come from the fallout after someone passes. I also did eulogy at his funeral. Now for Barb. This witch was walking around acting like she was the dang grieving widow and even got some people to put on a benefit for her and Sam to raise money because she would no longer receive child support. I'd like to point out that Sam was 19 years old, and when George fell into eternal sleep, he had planned to stop giving Barb money after the new year. The child support was already over, but he was still giving it to her even though he was 19, but he was literally just about to stop.
Is that not motive? You know, he was just about to stop. And then she's like, all right, there is one more thing I can do. I can set up a little GoFundMe.
Unfortunately, that is motive and
That's
horrendously suspicious timing.
Pretty suspicious.
Horrendously suspicious.
I'm not saying Barb is poisoning the well, but she may be poisoning George.
Barb also harassed my mom for a year because she wanted some of George's expensive items like collectibles, music equipment he acquired while married to my mom. Now, my mom did give Sam some sentimental items like a very nice watch that stepdad George would wear on special occasions, some of George's favorite shoes he was known for wearing, photos of Sam's early years, some of his hat collection, and George's pocket. But she needed to sell the expensive items because George's life insurance policy lapsed the day he collapsed. The insurance company told my mom, tough luck. And even though she worked 2 jobs, the financial burden of losing George's income was astronomical. He also worked 2 jobs, not to mention all of the funeral costs. As time went on, Barb eventually stopped harassing my mom. And while I attempted to have a relationship with Sam, they chose not to interact. Sam and Taylor stayed friends with me on social media, but the only one I'm still occasionally speaking with is Taylor, but nothing more than a happy holidays, hope all is well, or a post react. I moved on with my life, found my soulmate, and had our son.
Everyone's just going to move on from this very suspicious ground. Is no one else suspicious in this story?
Remember, she stalked him before they got married.
She's crazy.
Yeah.
The Talmud says, I have a friend that's been widowed. When her husband passed away, she joined a widow support group and found out 75% of the people in that group did not get insurance payouts despite paying.
Wow. That's crazy. Unfortunately, my mom would only get to experience 3 years as a grandmother. 2 weeks after my son's 3rd birthday and 10 years after stepdad George's passing, my mom lost her fight with cervical cancer. When my mom passed away, she left her entire estate to me. This included the family home. Now, remember when I said losing stepdad George destroyed my mother? She had a hard time recovering from his loss and became a hoarder. She also had a bunch of cats who wee-weed everywhere when my mom was in a home on hospice. My aunt was trying to help when my mom was still alive, but she traveled a lot for work and I lived an hour away from the family home. So once I got to the house, it was trashed. I decided to fix it back up before selling it. While I loved our family home, it was far away and I had a lot of debt to pay off after my mom passed. Fixing it up would really help sell it for a better price. I ultimately worked with the company to fix the house up front and I would pay them after the sale. I highly recommend not doing that. That's another story entirely. We ended up putting in around $200,000 in repairs to make it even remotely sellable. But after a year and a half of stress and grief, I had a hard time getting out of bed for 6 months after my mom passed, and the construction company was a year behind the schedule. We were finally able to put up the house for sale though. Currently, we have reached a month on the market due to it being a bad time to sell. Now it's been about 2 years at this point since I lost my mom. Sam and Taylor are both still friends with me on all socials. All 3 of us have accounts on pretty much everything, and I haven't been quiet about this house journey or my grief. So I figured I was in the clear for dealing with Barb. Oh, how wrong I was.
Barb rises
Barb
from
is
the
back.
dirt. It's like a zombie with its hand.
Sticking on to you with her little barbly pricks.
Barb's at me.
But a couple of weeks ago, I got a DM request on Messenger. It's effing Barb. She's back. I'm like, what the heck does this woman want? But curiosity got the best of me, so I opened it. She was asking me about putting up the house wondering if my mom sold it to me, and acting like she didn't know that my mom had passed away. I ended up telling her she passed away. She then starts trying to guilt trip me that my mom and George's family stopped being in contact with Sam. Absolutely not true. It was the other way around because Sam only cares about Sam. And starts saying that my mom never gave Sam anything of George's. Also not true, as has been mentioned. By the way, you know what is true?
What?
The fact that you can always listen to full episodes.
Yeehaw!
Just like this. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. Go there right now. Search
do it.
OK Story Time and buckle up, partner. Grab the bull by the horns
Grab that bull.
and ride the journey for 49 days straight of podcast episodes.
What I'm mad about is no one is even sniffing around Barb. Like, there's so much motive, is there not?
There is motive.
I'm not one to jump to conclusions. I would never. But, like, I feel like we should jump to conclusions.
No one is. Opie says, Barb also starts questioning me about what I'm going to do with the money from selling the house. She tries to say that Sam is entitled to some of that sale, and how would I feel if I didn't get anything from my mom when she passed away? At this point, I just outright block Barb. She's disturbed my peace enough, and I wasn't about to continue to entertain her nonsense. Sam is 30 years old and completely capable of reaching out to me on their own. It's been absolute crickets for 2 years, and if Sam cared about any of this, they would reach out to me. But like I said, Sam only cares about Sam. Not to mention, Sam never wanted to be really involved in our lives when stepdad George was alive. So ultimately, am I the a-hole for not sharing the money I make from selling my late mother's house, even though it was left entirely to me?
No, it's your house.
Yeah.
It's your house that was left to you. Barb is being barbaric, and I don't want her anywhere near me.
At the end of the day, the money goes to where the person who passed away says it goes.
Yep.
My sister supported my ex in our divorce, so I decided to keep my distance.
How about you just get away from him and just cut that all off? How about we do that?
Well,
No distance.
yeah.
No distance. Just bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. now.
Bye.
Bye-bye. A little background. I am the youngest of 4 kids. Elizabeth, 45.
Elizabeth.
Mary and John, twins who are 43, and myself, 40 female. Not to be dramatic, but I've always been the black sheep of the family. My dad told my mom to terminate me when she found out she was pregnant with me, and I've always been treated differently. By the way, this comes from No More Use 38540. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. So, for example, my dad refused to come to my high school graduation because he'd booked a vacation he refused to reschedule, even though I begged him to come. Okay, I'm going to put a trigger warning right now at the beginning of the story. There's going to be some very clear parental neglect in this story. And if you don't want to hear anything about that, you probably don't listen to it. I always felt different in the family and was definitely the one to act out and behave wildly. In my mid-30s, I started to mature and did some traveling, gained some life experiences, and spent a lot of time in therapy that helped me to start to settle. I went back to school, got a degree, and began a career instead of a job.
Let's go. Proud of you.
I was really proud of myself and how much I had grown. I still wasn't close with my siblings, but that's also on me since I was learning to be independent and didn't reach out much to my family. They knew I would do whatever I could to be there for them, but we didn't actively seek each other out to do things. My sisters hang out together, but I wasn't invited unless I asked to come along. I met and married a man, Zach, 45 male, and for a while things were fine. I started to get closer to my sister, Mary, and her husband would spend time with my husband and I. Mary's marriage wasn't the best, but I knew it wasn't my place to give her my opinion, so I stayed out of it and just listened and supported her when she would complain. In time, Zach and I were spending a lot of our free time with Mary and her husband. I kept my marriage issues to myself. My mother had a tendency to exaggerate problems and share issues with the rest of the family. And after a situation where she shared something personal with my siblings, I made the decision that any issues with Zach would not be shared with anyone in the family. As far as they were concerned, my marriage was just fine, except it wasn't. I was deeply unhappy, and Zach and I weren't able to work through our issues. He thought I was cheating on him. I wasn't. And I realized that I couldn't stay with someone who didn't trust me. And this isn't the only reason we divorced. This was the last straw in many years of unhappiness, and I couldn't take it anymore. The day before I asked for a divorce, I called my eldest sister, Elizabeth, and told her what was going to happen. I asked if I could come see her after the conversation to give some space and have time to decompress. Elizabeth was very supportive, and she said she was happy to have me over. I asked her not to tell anyone since I knew how close Mary was to Zach. I didn't want him to hear it from anyone except me. I felt he deserved to hear it directly from me since that is the adult thing to do. Correct.
Agreed.
Elizabeth kept silent, probably from that corset she was wearing.
I can't breathe.
Sorry. That's
Jack.
just a casual Pirates of the Caribbean reference. Back to the
We're
story.
gonna do this.
After I asked for the divorce, I knew Zach would run to Mary and her husband to spin some sort of story. I called Mary and explained in a very calm, very demure manner what was going on so she could hear it from me. She said she was sorry to hear this, but she said that she was there to support me if I needed her. As predicted, Zach spun a story and told them I was cheating on him. To solidify, Mary and her husband would stay on his side. Zach told Mary that I had some very negative things about her that I'd said, and she believed it. Mary called our mother and told her Zach's side of the story as well as the negative things I said, which again, she didn't really say, and she and my stepdad also believed him. My brother, John, is Mary's fraternal twin, so he just goes along with whatever Mary says. Eventually, I'm completely ostracized from the family to go through my divorce alone.
So they all believed Zachary? That's crazy.
Just not even a confirmation. Like, I don't know. Maybe
They're like,
OP,
oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, she would do that.
maybe when they were asked, like, did you really cheat on Zach? She was like,
Yeah.
no. Like, I don't know.
I would have been like, show me the proof.
Show me the money. I was devastated. I had no idea what I had done to deserve this silence from my family because no one was talking to me. When my mom finally listened to what I had to say, she began crying and apologizing for not believing me. Zach's facade had started to crack, and my mom started seeing the things I was talking about regarding Zach's behavior. She told me that Zach had told Mary I had said negative things about her, but my mom wouldn't tell me what was said. She felt it needed to come from Mary to repair our relationship. She encouraged both Mary and myself to reach out to each other to talk things over. Here's where I may be the a-hole. I refused. In my mind, I feel that if Mary feels that I said something to hurt her, she needs to let me know. I'm angry that my family abandoned me during a major life event like a divorce. I know that my behavior as a young adult was wild and unhinged, but I had proven for almost a decade that I had grown up. But you think this little of my character. Okay, I'm good to not beg you to listen if you've already passed judgment on me. And I understand that.
That's fair.
I mean, to be honest, like the mom,
Exhausting, but fair.
it's so whack for the mom to be like, yeah, oh, I believed Zach's lies and I'm so upset that he fooled me. You need to apologize. This needs to be between you and just your sister. It's like, no, now that you know that everyone is caught in a lie, a web of lies spun by literally my ex-husband, we need to maybe, can I have someone on my team, please? For God's sake,
I'm being
please.
punked right now because my entire blood is just like, no.
Yeah. Your bloodline has canceled you.
When you've done nothing wrong.
When you didn't do anything wrong. With a lot of therapy and distance, I now live on the other side of the country. I'm starting to find some peace with the whole situation. However, my mom will occasionally ask me to reach out to Mary and talk to her. I told her that as long as she and her husband are still friends with Zach, I will have nothing to do with them because I don't trust them, which is so fair. By the way, you can trust that there are full episodes with stories like this at your fingertips. All you have to do is go to iHeartRadio or Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. I don't even care if it's like a vinyl record that you have somehow transposed all of our podcasts onto. Whatever. If it's on there, it's on there. Search OK Storytime.
All you do, use
and
this.
you will have
You'll find it.
Entire Jedi archives of our stories at your disposal.
Yeah, Camino's there.
It is there. So there is actually like quite a bit of story left here. We have like 28 pages left.
Cool. I mean, we've said our piece. The fact that your family is already past judgment on you pretty much, what's the point of like, all right, if that's how you guys see me, what's the point of trying to, defend for yourself?
Yeah, for them to not be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. We totally bought his lie. I see why you guys are not together because that is absurd that he could lie to your whole family about something like this and try to turn us all against you.
Yeah.
But instead, they're just like, ooh, I don't know. You should probably take care of that.
It's the difference of, did you do that? Against, how could you do that?
Yeah. It needs to be the question first. Did you do that? Needs to come first.
Not like, how could you do that to Zach?
So I have learned to set my own boundaries and feel that if I open a line of communication with them while Zach is still around, that they'll tell Zach about my life. Zach had broken into my social media and was keeping tabs on me without my knowledge for a while. So I do everything I can to keep anyone out who may potentially share information with him. I know this is a fact because Zach boasted to my mom and stepdad that he knew everything I was doing because he was in my social media. I also won't speak to Mary and her husband because they still call me names and keep trying to manipulate my mom and stepdad to stop talking to me again. They think that I'm a sleut and a gardening tool for cheating, quote unquote,
Yep.
on Zach.
Exactly. I'm over it. I don't need to exhaust any energy into people who already passed judgment on me, especially, I don't know, my own family. Duh.
We grew up together. I'm gonna take the side of my ex-husband. Cringy. I feel like I'm doing the right thing by keeping this boundary in place. But am I the a-hole for refusing to repair my relationship with Mary while Zach is still in the picture? We do have some comments. Go ahead and finish these off. Comment 1 says, okay, I'm going to come in with a hard truth here. Your family didn't treat you badly because you acted out. You acted out because they treated you badly. This emotional abandonment and manipulation and the being scapegoated and other family members being prioritized over you isn't going to go away because you've matured or grown out of it or even proven yourself. It's not going to change how they treat you. You're still seeing that same behavior towards you even as a mature adult. Now, you can sit there and take it, let yourself be beaten down and manipulated and taken advantage of and made to feel small. Or you can recognize that you never deserved to be treated the way that your family treated you growing up and is treating you now. You can set yourself free from this pain, limit your contact. Don't let them have an ear or a voice in your life. Point your energy in a healthier, more fulfilling direction to relationships that will strengthen and bolster you, letting you stand tall and shine bright like a diamond. It's up to you. This is toxic and unhealthy and isn't going to change. It's not your fault. Sincerely, someone who escaped/is escaping a similar situation/family dynamic. And comment 2, I would take a break from social media. It's causing you harm and aiding your ex-husband. OP replied, I didn't mention anything about my divorce or separation from my ex until he moved out of my house, which was 3 months after the divorce was finalized. After he left is when I found out he was invading my social media accounts and keeping tabs on everything I was doing. And I immediately changed all my passwords and reset my accounts. I had a good friend of mine who works in IT and internet security go through my computer, laptop, and tablet to ensure he no longer has access to anything and set up more privacy settings to help give me some peace of mind. It definitely helped. Another reply says, are you saying that while you were going through the process of divorce, he hacked your social media and then bragged to your parents and your parents never said a word to you? That is really effed up. It's astonishing that they didn't see it as a red flag and still thought of him as a good person. You are a better person than me because I don't think I could ever talk to my parents again. Another comment says, not the a-hole. Don't even try to talk or justify or explain things to your sister. This isn't about your sister. This is about your mom. You do need to ask your mom why she thinks you should demean yourself to a person who calls you names and lies about you. She comes back with family, or it makes things uncomfortable, then ask why her comfort is more important than yours, or why, as a parent, she would sacrifice her child to make herself feel better.
My wife's frenemy revealed a controversial past, but I'm having none of it. Don't take any of it. My wife, 29 female, and I, 28 male, have been together for 4 years and married for less than a year. Let me also preface this by saying I have a cold and am in desperate need of sleep. By the way, this comes from Throwaway Wife of Fruit. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to r/OK Storytime subreddit. My wife Katie and I started dating when I was in grad school. We were in the same social circle. She was in a relationship with a guy we'll call Mike. And it was clear it wasn't going to work long term. Mike was a free spirit and had a lot of personal issues, so none of us were surprised when they broke up. He decided to go on a retreat/road trip with his ex-girlfriend for 6 months and disappeared. She got over the relationship, and about a year later, we started dating. It was an odd coupling. We're very different. She's a lot more artistic and free-spirited than I am. We're on different levels in the looks department, and many of the things that make us who we are seemingly opposite. I'm more buttoned up and traditional, and she's not. it. A couple of months in, we hit a rough patch, but we worked through it. From then on, things were great. We moved in together, I proposed, we got married, and that brings us to today where we're trying for a kid. My wife's frenemy, Danielle, has never really been supportive of our relationship. They've been friends since middle school, but have had several falling outs over the years. Recently, my wife couldn't or didn't attend an event hosted by Danielle, which prompted this recent outburst, and along with it, the end of their friendship. Danielle sent me an email saying that when Katie and I got together, she was unsure of which person to choose. So when Mike returned, she went to him to talk about them. They met a few times during the first 2 weeks he was back and apparently had spicy sleep once or twice. According to Danielle, Katie ended it and never told me anything about it. She confided in Danielle years ago, and I guess that thought the matter was closed. I got the email this morning at 10 and was surprised Danielle emailed me. I read it. Probably 30 minutes later, I got text from my wife asking if I got an email from Danielle and if I had read it. When I answered in the affirmative, she sent me a deluge of long texts explaining that it did happen. They had spicy sleep once and had coffee 3 times, and she hasn't spoken to him since. I'm not sure how to respond. I have a cold and have been trying to get work done so I can rest when I get home. I don't even know how to deal with this. Part of me wants to go home, get into bed, and sleep, pretending I never found out. Another part of me is furious that she hid this from me. I had a feeling she had seen her ex, but then she came to me a week or so later and wanted me to confirm we were exclusive and that I wasn't seeing anyone else. Part of me is also terribly mad at Danielle for dragging this crap up years later. I don't know what to do here. Is this that bad of a transgression? It feels like it was so far in the past that I don't know how to respond to my wife or Danielle. And there are some comments, so let's get into it. In my opinion, at first, she didn't know whether to stick with familiar guy or new guy. She couldn't make a decision and ended up briefly seeing 2 guys at the same time. In the end, she chose you and you're happily married now. Danielle dropped that bomb just to hurt your wife and you were collateral damage. Comment 2, you don't need to decide right now. You don't even need to decide tomorrow or this week. Sleep, get over your cold. Think about it. Find someone to talk to about it and maybe a counselor. Figure out how you feel, then start to talk it out with your wife. Put trying for a kid on hold, no matter what. Reply says, endorse this 100%. Counselor, trusted friend, probably one with some distance from the situation. Mentor, whatever. Saying things out loud to another human is often quite helpful, even if your audience has no useful advice. It helps you sort your own thoughts, feelings, reactions, and priorities. Would also advise, don't have further contact with your wife's frenemy. Don't try to resolve anything with your wife until you've decided what outcome you want. Also, just a general guy hug from me to you. Sorry. When you get the rug pulled out from under you like this, I know that feeling, the nausea, the urge to do something but not knowing what. It's both emotionally and physically uncomfortable. Take a deep breath and another. Repeat as necessary. Comment 3, no matter what happens between you and your wife, get as far away from Danielle as humanly possible. She's effing toxic. She destroyed you guys today for her own sick pleasure. Yes, I know your wife majorly effed up and she will have to answer for that. If she actually cared about either of you, she wouldn't have kept it a secret this long and then dropped a bomb when it was convenient for her. Exactly. God, some people are cancer. Reply, at least Danielle did something useful and shed light to an issue that the wife would have never confessed. Is she toxic? Yes. Was she useful though? Also yes. And there is an update.
Wow.
Too many thoughts before we get into it.
I really want to know how the conversation went with, what is it, Danielle
Yeah.
and what's the wife's name? And the wife, I guess.
The wife, yeah, I don't know.
Because if OP got the email from Danielle and then immediately got a text like, oh, you got an email, right?
I think what probably happened is Danielle and the wife were texting.
Yeah.
And they had this big blow up fight and they were like, you know what? We can't be friends anymore. And then Danielle was like, you know what? I'm going to tell your husband
Right.
that you slept with your ex. And she's
Right.
like, no. Update. Sorry for the delay. It's been crazy. So briefly, I didn't update because I was really feeling crappy. I took nighttime cold medicine really early and passed out and wound up taking Friday off. I binged Chernobyl and slept/recuperated. I didn't respond to Danielle and my wife sort of left me alone to recover as I felt like crap. She took care of me but also didn't bring up the topic until I wasn't on my back. Once I started feeling better and could breathe through my nose again, I tried to calmly approach this. On the table was a pregnancy test we've been trying for a little while with a little bow on it. I had previously noticed that she was late, but my wife and I had a few very late periods and no pregnancies, so I wasn't sure what's what. I'm pretty sure I mentioned trying for a kid in my OP. So that adds a layer of complexity to all of this. To answer some of your questions, in general, things were great between my wife and I and have been for years. The real problem we had was in those first few months, which involved a number of issues about being in a new relationship. We rarely fought. Things were happy. We had great spicy sleep life. We openly talked about everything. I would never imagine that I'd be sent something like this. Exclusive? We had never talked about it. It was never stated one way or the other. I assumed we were, but I guess not. Her ex, he's a writer. Let me rephrase, a writer who has never written. Mike and I have met a few times by accident, and once because he was invited to a party we went to. He's not really that interesting or threatening, and my wife seems totally nonplussed with him. The last time we saw him was in a bookstore, and she didn't at all seem interested. She later said she was glad it didn't work out and was happy without him in her life. Danielle and Katie have been friends for 2 decades, but the last couple of years things became contentious. Katie and I got together, and Danielle's marriage fizzled out. Danielle can be a nice person, but is difficult, and I think she's jealous that our relationship was, until that point, very successful. She and I didn't really spend that much time together, and she retreated from my wife's life when she found out we were trying for a kid. In the wake of all of this, their friendship is ruined, that's for sure. I was feeling crummy and watching back-to-back episodes of TV and did nothing all day Friday. I literally did nothing beyond getting up to take some medicine / eat and pee. That's it. I didn't broach the subject or even think about it. When my wife got home, I felt better and could think a bit more cogently. She does errands after work, which is when she dropped the test on the table and scrammed. A few people commented that we should wait to have kids. Well, that's not gonna happen. She got back and we talked. The story is, and I have no reason to doubt her, she and Mike were dating. She was studying away, working, and he was writing. He asked to go on a writing retreat with his ex-girlfriend to a cabin somewhere so they could focus on their work. She said no, that it wasn't a good idea for him to be alone with his ex. He went anyway. That translated into his leaving for some prolonged road trip with his ex. They kept in contact, but she and I started dating. We had been together 3 or 4 weeks when he returned, and they didn't see each other at first. My wife, like I said, is different from me. I'm a lot more traditional, a lot more formal, and very career-oriented. When we hit a rough patch, there was more than an insubstantial chance I was going to have to move away, and she was going to have to decide whether to move with me. After 2.5 months to 3 months of seeing each other, or break up and move on. I had applied for a program, and it looked like the local program was going to reject me, but surprisingly, a better, far more well-known university was going to accept me. When things went down between them, I had been formally rejected, and she had to make a decision. I was too focused on admission to even notice or care. They met up at a party, and nothing happened. They just talked and had drinks. The second time they met, that's when the deed happened. She apparently regretted it immediately. The final time was to tell him goodbye and that she was moving. They had a few drinks, fooled around, and then she left. She said she knew it was a mistake. She knew they had no future, and she knew they had nothing in common anymore. Right around the time that they fooled around, she and I had a mega fight about moving. It was a lot for someone to deal with, I know. But in the end, she said she wanted to go. However, she was scared I was going to get to the new city and my new program and dump her for a classmate, stranding her. I told her no, offered her whatever assurances I could. It worked, and we did live happily ever after. I would never have assumed she had cheated. I mean, putting it down, we were in a weird spot, and I fully understand why it was a rough time. But the cheating was really not something I could abide by. The whole exclusive thing came from us moving. I didn't put 2 and 2 together at the time. I figured then that she wanted assurances that moving with me wasn't a huge mistake. Not that she recently bonked her ex who has frequent and unprotected spicy sleep with many randoms. But again, it also makes sense. From then till about a month after we moved, we didn't have spicy sleep. Not once. I asked if she had been tested, and she casually remarked, of course. I was still feeling crappy and didn't know what to do, so I just kind of went back to bed. In reality, for years, she's never strayed or been anything but open. She has access to my phone, and I can access hers. She doesn't go out with unexplained absences and is more of a homebody. She isn't flirtatious with people or cause drama, so I just stopped caring. I took the weekend to get over this cold, and we did some baby shopping online and planned for a follow-up with her doctor. After that, we just didn't talk about it again. Very anticlimactic. I did bring up the subject of Danielle and pretty directly told her I was done with her. She asked if she thought it would be wise to try and talk to her, and I said no. We wrote her an email using my account and sent her a response basically telling her that we were done with her and not to bother us again. She responded by saying it was a joke and asked that we understand that she was being funny. No, actually, you know what is funny? Listening to full episodes with stories just like this, just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcast app and search up OK Storytime. I found the block function on Gmail and added her. My wife noticed that she removed her from Facebook and Insta, and I guess that's it. Not really a thrilling or interesting update, and a few people will be angry that I didn't take a stronger tone reaction, but I did what I felt was best under the circumstances. Hopefully this is behind us and I can just move on and enjoy bringing a new life into the world. Your wife has built years of being trustworthy, and you have decided to leave the past in the past, and it's not up to the people of Reddit to be angry for you for not reacting the way they wish you would. And Reply says, some of us are going to disagree simply because this seems rug swept more than left in the past. If it truly doesn't bother OP and he's over it, then perfect, I agree with you. However, if it does bother him, not talking it through and maybe having some therapy is only going to slowly fester this in his head with random triggers about it, and maybe even end up resenting his wife for it. He considers it cheating. That's the key here. I just want to make sure he's really okay with it. If he isn't, he should go either to therapy together or alone, or if therapy is too expensive. I know we, in the US, in some states have marriage counselors or something similar in different communities that are free. I know my ex and I went to one a little. They're not great, but they help by speaking together and about things you may not when alone. You can just try working it on your own. Just make sure it really is settled in Opie's mind and not just rug swept. Comment says, I'm sorry, but I don't understand how she has built years of being trustworthy. On the contrary, she has built years of not telling the truth. She's not trustworthy, otherwise he would have heard this from her back when it happened, not from a friend many years down the line. She's a good liar or someone with no conscience. I'm somewhere in the middle with these comments to really quickly finish it off. I think that Opie is allowed to be, upset and kind of betrayed by this, and also need therapy and stuff to work through this. But I also kind of disagree with that last comment of saying that she's lied this whole time. I think they've just kind of viewed it very differently.
Yeah, I think that last commenter has definitely been cheated on before.
Yeah,
it is.
But that's the end of that.
My wife claims she can't stand her ex, but the reunion looked like a romantic movie scene.
They're looking a little too comfy.
Ooh, uh-oh. Hi, all. Never done anything like this before. New account because I don't know where this is going, if it's even going anywhere. My wife and friends know my Reddit username. Maybe I'm overthinking, maybe I'm not. But something about this past weekend is just sitting weird with me, and I don't know if I should trust my gut or if I'm just getting in my own head. By the way, this comes from Throwaway 13181, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. So, for some context, my wife Carla and I have been together for 4 years, married for 5 months. We have a solid relationship, no real trust issues or anything like that. She's an amazing person and I love her endlessly. Something about her that's important to the situation is that she's always been one of those people who holds grudges forever. Like, she's still mad about a girl stealing her seat in 9th grade. If you cross her, she holds it against you forever. I think that's what makes this whole thing feel off. We were out shopping on Saturday at a mall about an hour from home. At this point, the day was winding down and we were grabbing a bite to eat in the food court. And that's when we ran into Chris. Now, Chris.
Oh, I understand.
Now, Chris is the ex she was with from 16 to 24.
Dang, that is the ex. Jeez.
Wow. He's the only ex she's ever really talked about. And every time she has, it's been something negative. They fought a lot and they had a messy breakup. They were toxic. They cheated on each other, the whole 9 yards. We've lived in the same city as him our whole relationship. And other than a brief blip while dating, we've never once bumped into him. But we run into him an hour away from home on a random day at the mall. And her reaction just sent me for a loop. I was mid-sentence when I saw her eyes just lock onto something behind me. And immediately she lights up. Big smile. Before I even turn to see who it is, she's already standing up to greet him, just beaming. They hug, and it's not just some quick, oh hey hug. Like, it felt like it was so amazing to finally see you again kind of hug. And then suddenly, I'm just standing there, completely shut out of the conversation while they start catching up. I didn't even know who he was. I haven't seen him in years, and I had to piece it together as they chatted. I thought she'd introduce me, but nope. I'm just standing there while she's laughing, fully engaged with him, even some physical touching. At one point, she shoved his arm playfully. Y'all know what that means. Oh gosh. I'm not a jealous person, and I honestly have zero problem with her being friends with whomever she chooses. But my impression of her relationship with him was different than what I was seeing. I figured I was overreacting or reading too much into it, but I still felt a bit weird. Like a third wheel, if I'm being honest. So I just tried to hint that it was time to go by picking up our trays and making it clear I was ready. Neither of them noticed. So I walked off, tossing the trays, came back. Still talking. They finally wrap it up after a few more minutes and they hugged again, and then he was off. And then without a single word about it, she just looks at me and goes, okay, let's stop at Lululemon and Indigo before we head out. Damn. I'd be like, can we talk about what just happened? Yeah.
Dang,
That's
man.
crazy.
Dang. And she's like, yeah, that's it.
When he was saying that he walked off, I was really hoping that he just fully walked away and just waited till she noticed.
Yeah.
Like that, might do that.
Yeah.
Maybe not in the moment.
I'm sorry.
but, like,
you just like,
that's
you don't even introduce.
Yeah.
That's messed up.
And you're blocking out your husband out of a conversation
Like
with
you're not
your
even like,
ex.
this is my husband.
Yeah.
Come on.
And you've only like you just got married 5 months ago. Like that's something you could talk about. When
yeah,
you're
like
catching
hey,
up
this
with
is my
someone.
husband.
She said this like nothing happened. I kept waiting for her to bring him up, say something about how weird it was, or at least acknowledge him or their conversation in some way, but she just acted like it was nothing. We shopped for another 45 minutes like nothing happened. Once we got in the car, I waited to see if she'd bring it up. She didn't. Small talk ended a few minutes after we got on the highway, and she was just glued to her phone. So I asked who she's texting. She says the group chat. That's her 3 best friends, Cheyenne, Darcy, and Julia. I said, what's the topic of the conversation? She smiled and said, I'm telling them how crazy it is that I ran into Chris. I just say, yeah, that was pretty wild. She agrees and says, insane. What are the chances? And then she just kept texting. I kind of expected that to punt off our conversation about it, but it didn't. That night at home, after she'd been on her phone the majority of the night with the girls still chatting about it, I decided to bring it up. I told her I felt like a bit of a third wheel when Chris showed up. She didn't introduce me. Felt like I wasn't even there because she didn't introduce me. She lightheartedly said, oh, he knows who you are. Then gave me a quick peck on the... Now, I didn't exactly handle this great. I brought it up in a very lighthearted and non-serious tone. That's just how I deal with conflict, so it's 100% on me for not communicating where my head was at, and I can't fault her for being so nonchalant about it. I left it there for the night and thought I'd take another stab at it the next day once I'd had some time to process. But it's been days, and I still just feel really confused about this whole thing. I'm really struggling trying to process how I'm feeling about it all and judging if I even have a right to feel upset. I've never run into an ex before, so this is new territory. So I'm making my first Reddit post. Honestly, not even sure if this is the best sub for this. If you think this belongs elsewhere, let me know. And there are some comments, but what would you do?
I think you have to have a conversation with your partner and say like, hey,
Yeah.
I felt pretty weird about this. I felt excluded. Like, can we talk about this?
Yeah. Comment number 1 says, listen, you really need to start communicating your feelings to your wife. I get that that's hard for you, but then that's something that you need to work super hard on improving. Without good communication, relationships won't last. You won't vocalize your feelings and the resentment will just build. Tell her that this small trip left you confused. You thought she didn't like the guy. She only spoke of him in negative light, and then it looks like she met a long-lost best friend and then spent a whole evening talking about it to her mates. Tell her that that was confusing and makes it look like such a big deal. So why was it such a big deal? Does she still have some sort of feelings for him? Also, doesn't she think that that's kind of rude not to introduce you and bring you into a conversation? That's universally rude, whomever you are meeting. Ask her all of this. Someone else responds, this. Also, when you asked her about why she didn't introduce you, she said he knows who you are, but you said that you had to deduce who he was. How does he know who you are? It seems... Yeah. Yeah. I know, because that's what I was thinking. Like, that's what I think we were on about, like, with him, with her possibly cheating or something like that, or just that being up in the air that she's done that before. It's like, if they've talked about it before, if he knows who the OP is, then yeah, when, and like, if this seems like the first time they've met up in so long,
I didn't even think about
why
that,
did,
man.
yeah, I think that's a great point, commenter.
Ooh.
It seems like maybe they've been in some kind of contact later than you know about. Either way, stop dropping hints and say what you mean. Hints are too easy to dodge. Good luck and update me. Another response, I never talk about my ex because I dislike a majority of them. Even the ones I dislike, I just don't care. If I saw an ex in the mall, I'd pretend not to notice in the hopes that they wouldn't see. If I was with my husband, I would totally use him as the excuse. Hey, me and my husband are in a rush. We gotta go. And then I would crap talk about them for like 15 minutes in the car. That interaction is a red flag. Another commenter says, if someone comes up to you while you're with someone else and you don't introduce them, that's bad social form, period. Doesn't matter if it's your soccer coach, your mom, unless it's like a super brief interaction, like a passing hello. That's just a rude way to behave. That rule goes double if it's an ex. goes from rude to disrespectful. Your wife should have immediately introduced you and included you in the conversation. If she's touching someone, it should have been you. When she didn't introduce you, the subtext is that you aren't worth being introduced. Even if it had been someone that you had met before, the polite thing to do is say, oh, hey, you remember OP, my husband, or have you met before? This is like really basic social etiquette that every adult should know. And there is an update. Hi again, everyone. Wasn't sure if I should make a whole new post or edit an ad here, but considering how many people commented, update me, I think posting a brief update here makes the most sense. Carla and I sat down and had a long talk. She was experiencing some emotions similar to mine throughout the week. How can that be, you might ask? After sitting down and using a lot of the top comments here as a guideline to get my feelings out, namely the feeling of being lost and confused, we were able to get a dialogue going and figure out my and our feelings. The biggest realization I had while replying to comments, and what was fully realized when Carla and I talked, was that I had felt abandoned and disconnected from her for the first time in our relationship. We have a little phrase we say, book page, to signify that our minds, emotions, and hearts are on the same page. We say it a lot because that's just how we feel. When Chris and Carla split at the mall and she just didn't acknowledge it or give any indication she was ready to sync up our emotions and experiences from that encounter, that's what really threw me for a loop and had me spiraling for days. She knew it was a mistake on her part and had every intention of talking to me and getting back on the same page. She was actually the one to initiate our talk when she got home yesterday. I was planning to wait until after a bit later, after eating, but she started it off almost immediately. She was and is incredibly sorry for how I was feeling. She didn't realize it was as severe as it was, which is why she had put off talking until she had figured out her own feelings. I can already predict the comments rolling in saying that we're both bad communicators and we both did the same unhealthy thing of bottling up our feelings instead of just talking to our spouse. If that was the norm, I would completely agree with you. This is the first time I've ever experienced this feeling, as I've said, and it's the first time Carla has done this as well. This was an outlier, not the normal rhythm of our relationship. As soon as we were able to talk about our thoughts, those feelings of disconnection went away, and it immediately felt like a 1,000,000-pound weight had been lifted off my heart. We then started to compare our experiences and what happened and our thoughts and feelings. We went over a lot, so I'm going to just throw things out in point form because the conversation jumped around a lot, so I'm just going to throw things down in point form. Carla feels a fun throwback type of excitement when talking with Chris and reminiscing about high school and old times. He added her on Instagram that night after they ran into each other at the mall. She added him back and they started DMing. He had broached the idea of meeting up for coffee to catch up. When they were talking at the mall, she said that she might be open to it, but didn't commit at that point. She talked to the girls in the group chat because they were all there during the Chris era and had talked in the past about what meeting up with him again would be like. I told her I tried to check her phone to ease my anxiety, and she said that she was sorry the password had changed. She changed it due to a misunderstanding with an instruction from her new work's mail app. She changed her phone passcode from my birth year, her birth year, our meeting year to our meeting year. Just a reorganization. She had changed it around November or December, and I just haven't had a need to touch her phone and try to get in. She handed me her phone and let me enter the new code to show me that she was being honest. The girls' group chat was full of girl talk. There are a couple people that reached out to me via DM that I've already shared details with, and a few of them say that this girls' chat was extremely inappropriate and not okay, while others said that it resembled what their girls' chat would look like under the same circumstances and with all the same history and context. Carla does still have some lingering feelings for Chris. It's not something that she feels detracts or impacts her feelings for me at all. She was brutally honest and said it's more of a physical lust attraction, not feelings of love. Carla has a very dominant and assertive personality type, and so does Chris. They never worked as a couple for that reason, but they connected physically really well. Our relationship works the opposite way, and she knows that I'm the puzzle.
Isn't that like you don't connect physically well?
That's even worse.
Oh, is she telling you? She's like, and you get it because like our physical life isn't as good as it was with Carl.
Yeah.
But you know.
Yeah, she's just like planting the seeds of having a polyamorous relationship.
She's like, it could be better.
Yeah.
I mean, we could, spice it up by bringing another person in.
Yeah,
Maybe someone I already have in
kicking
mind.
one out.
Yeah.
Our relationship works the opposite way, and she knows that I'm the puzzle piece for her heart and soul, and that no matter anything else, she wants to spend her life with me, and I feel the same way about her. A lot of the girls' group chat dove into some details about mine, Carla's spicy sleep life, as well as her history with Chris. I learned some things in the chat that Carla had hinted at before to me in conversations or while being intimate that made things make a lot more sense. I can provide some additional details if people want, but I don't think that's really the point here. Carla said she wanted to meet up with Chris for coffee. She messaged him with me at the end of our talk, and they confirmed it for today. It's 1:22 p.m. here. They met up for coffee at 11 a.m. Checked in with her, and she said it's going really well. But you know what isn't rough is the fact that we have full episodes with more stories just like this one. Just go to your favorite podcast app, whether that's iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever you choose, and search up OK Storytime. We've got so many more for you.
So many.
I'm sure there's questions that have come up that I haven't answered. These details are the ones that come to the top of my mind when I sit and think about our talk and where we're at. Of the dozen or so people that reached out, and I've already updated on this, a couple don't think I should bother updating because of where this ended up. I figured I owed it to everyone that seemed so interested, and if we'd had our talk and how it went. And that's it.
What?
No.
What?
No.
That's a terrible place to end that on.
I need to know.
Are you kidding me?
I wanna know what the other people do.
Come
I
on.
wanna
Okay.
I
I want to freaking be with the people. Sorry.
That's crazy.
Insane that OP went from like being like, that was weird and disrespectful to literally like finding out that her partner has lustful feelings for her ex.
Yeah.
And then she continues to hang out with him.
Yeah, man.
Bonkers. That's bonkers.
Like, I don't know if it's just me, but it's like even if like my partner trusted me and stuff like this, and if I was in Carla's situation somehow, like even if I knew my partner trusted me and I trusted my partner, I would still want to like reassure him that like this is like just about the situation, about how I feel about it.
I think there
like,
are just
right away.
certain situations that you don't put yourselves in when you're in a relationship because it's just disrespectful.
Yeah.
And it's like your partner shouldn't be saying, don't ever put yourselves in that position, or like you can't do that, because that's disrespectful to put down and be like,
yeah.
But it's just like having respect on both sides. It's like your partner shouldn't be forcing you to do it. You should want to not to do that.
Yeah.
You know? But that's the end of that story. My husband rushed to comfort his ex even after I forbid him to.
Excuse me?
Trigger warning for mentions of self-harm. I, 32 female, and my husband, 38 male, have been married for 3 years. Our relationship has had its ups and downs, but we're a relatively happy couple. Though in the beginning of our relationship, he was also dating Angela, 24 female, 5 years ago. He was dating 2 people? I was unaware of this other relationship, but when I found out, I confronted him. And he told me that since we weren't officially dating, that he didn't know we were exclusive. Did you have that conversation? Because if you had that conversation and he's like, I didn't know, then
I feel like you can pick up the vibe pretty clearly.
I told him that if he didn't cut off this relationship with Angela, that I was going to break it off. By the way, this comes from anonymously 10500, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to r/OK Storytime subreddit. So we left it at that, and we didn't talk for a while when he came to my apartment unexpectedly, weeks later, saying it was over with Angela and that he wanted to try again and asked me to be his girlfriend. Ever since then, we had been a pretty normal couple. We have had our moments, but our relationship is going good. And I believe he is my soulmate. Recently, there's been an issue in our relationship, though. Angela! 3 weeks ago, we were out running errands and went to a small boba shop that just opened up next to our local grocery store. As we were off to the side looking at the menu, from the corner of my eye, I see a woman that looks similar to Angela walk in. I do a double take. And sure enough, it's her. I feel an intense amount of dread and hope that hubby doesn't see her. As I'm internally panicking, I hear a woman's voice call for my husband. And as you might have guessed, it was Angela. My husband turns around and they have a small but awkward conversation. The whole time I just dissociate and stare off to the distance until she asks my husband, "Is that your wife?" To which he just nods and holds my hand. I pretty much just awkwardly smile and pray this encounter would end the whole time, and eventually she gets in line and we wait behind her. I felt so embarrassed, I immediately got out drinks and left. That was that. Until 2 weeks ago when I saw my husband's phone light up to a Facebook Messenger notification. I asked him who it was from, as he never uses Messenger. He said it was from an old friend. I asked who, and he said I wouldn't know. I became suspicious, but wasn't necessarily worried because I just assumed it was a friend. Until a few days later when he got another Facebook Messenger notification while I was ordering food on his phone. It was from Angela. I was shocked and confused. I went to their messages and everything seemed friendly and casual, though because of their history, I felt very uncomfortable with them talking. I went up to him and confronted him about the texts and asked why she was texting him. He told me that after running into her, she friended him on Facebook and they began talking. He assured me it was all casual, but I still told him I didn't want him talking to her. He assured me he would stop. I told him to unfriend her, to which he hesitated, but eventually did. There was no issue or word from Angela until last night, to which, from my knowledge, she spam messaged my husband, even called him crying, telling him that her mother was sick. I guess he knew her mother and felt sympathy towards her. Angela vented to him about how she had no one, and she just needed someone to comfort her. She asked my husband if he could come and be there for her, to which he said yes.
It's like so clearly a ploy.
I have no one else. Can you come alone and comfort me at night? She that much of a freaking loser that she has to call her ex up, man? Come on.
Like 0 people.
I had no idea he was doing this until I saw him putting his shoes on near the door. I asked him where he was going, and he told me the story of Angela's mom and that she needed someone to be with her. Someone, but not you. I told him not to go, and we had a small argument. He was rushing out the door, so I blocked him in and said that if he was going to go see and comfort his ex, that he wasn't allowed back in. He scoffed and pushed past me. I watched as he left. I went back inside, poured a few drinks while I tried my hardest to not cry and blow up his phone. Eventually, 3 hours passed, and he came back home. I sat on the couch during this, and as he came in, I told him that he wasn't allowed to sleep here. He was shocked, and we got into another argument, and to cut it short, he told me he had nowhere to go, so I told him that maybe he should go to Angela, as they seem to help each other a lot. He then left again, and I haven't heard anything from him. I'm currently staying up and have had a few drinks. I've decided to post this on Reddit as I feel like I might have overreacted and been an a-hole. I just need advice on how to handle this whole situation as I'm barely able to process what to do. I'm sorry if this was long. I needed to vent. And there is a small update. I eventually went to sleep and sent a text that I was sick and wasn't coming into work today. It's currently 2 p.m. where I live, and I've just been napping and kind of out of it. I haven't heard from him at all, and he hasn't come back home. I'm kind of worried as I don't know where he's at. His location has been off since yesterday.
Uh-oh.
I might send him a text later to make sure he's okay. I don't know if this is a good idea, as I'm not in the best mindset right now and have been in zombie mode. As of now, I'm trying to process what even happened as it went by so fast. I'll keep you all updated if anything happens. Thank you all again. And there is an update, but do you have any thoughts?
No, let's dive in.
Oh, okay.
I have some thoughts, but it's like I want to streamline. Because I feel like I have more thoughts later.
Let's get more information. Update. It's been 8 days since I posted my original post, and I finally have an update for you all. I'm sorry it took too long, but I've been sick. This is going to be long, so I apologize as I have to address a few things. I want to first say thank you to those that gave helpful and supportive comments, and to those that said I drove my husband straight to another woman's arms or I was hostile and controlling. First, if my husband was willing to go to another woman when in an argument with his wife, then is he really my husband? I mean, I have some standards to not marry an awful person. Second, to those saying that I was controlling and hostile towards Angela, if you have a partner and are okay with them doing something like this, then that's something within your boundaries, not mine. I don't like having contact with exes or having my husband be in contact with his ex. Finally, the age gap. I explained the story of how they met and such on a comment, but to sum it up, she had originally lied about her age. I didn't know her age or anything about her until I was engaged. Okay, on to what happened. He eventually came home later that day, and I was watching TV on the couch when he walked in. We looked at each other and didn't say anything. He went to our room, took a shower, and fell asleep. I was still upset with him, so I avoided going to check up on him or even talk to him. So I waited in the living room/kitchen until a few hours later when he woke up. I decided to make dinner. He came out, sat on the couch, and we ate in silence before he asked if I wanted to talk. I said I did, and he explained what happened. From what he told me when we saw her at the boba shop, she had friended him on Facebook later that day. He didn't friend her back, though, and ignored it. And eventually, a few days later, she sent him a message request. This is when he handed me his phone to see the messages. To sum it up, she texted him a few times over a range of days without an answer. From pleasantries, updates about her life, and finally a self-harming message.
Oh, God.
Now, I don't know what is allowed to be said in the subreddit, but my husband did respond out of worry for another person, or so he claimed. They talked a lot about her bad habits, self-harm, and other very personal things relating to that. Though reading, I did find out she had a boyfriend and that he was actually 51 years old. My husband calmed her down and they stopped talking for a few days. When she reached out again, and the same thing happened. This repeated again, where he wouldn't respond until she guilted him to. When I had found out and told him to block her, He actually didn't block her out of fear, but he didn't respond to her messages until that night. She actually sent very concerning messages beforehand and called him on Messenger. He answered and he said that she was wailing and screaming in pain. Now, I don't want to say too much, but she attempted to take a bunch of pills because of her mother, which is why he rushed to her. When he got there, he told me she was acting strangely and almost pretending to have done what she did. He tried to get her to the hospital, to which she refused after pleading for a while. He was getting ready to call 911 when she confessed she didn't actually take any pills. He was confused and asked why she said she did. She couldn't give him a clear answer.
Dummy, you know why she did. Come on, dude.
My husband was going to leave when she begged him to let her explain again. She said her mom is the only person who cares about her and that she needed someone with her after she found out she was sick and that she had no one but my husband, and my husband wouldn't come otherwise if it wasn't urgent. My husband wasn't buying it, so he asked if her mom was even sick, to which she denied it, but seemed to be lying. My husband then left. He told me he just stayed in his car for a while before coming back home. And that's when the confrontation happened. He said he was very tired and felt horrible, so he wasn't in the right headspace to explain right then and there. He also told me he didn't go back to Angela's, but instead just stayed in his car, got food, and pretty much wandered town until he got home later that day. After this, I felt very overwhelmed. I usually like to take time to myself to process things before making a decision or response, so I told him I needed time. I didn't interact with him until the next morning and told him I needed more time before talking to him again, and was going to stay with my parents for a few days. And now we're here. A few days actually turned into a week because as soon as I got here, I got sick. So I haven't felt good enough to even drive back home, much less process or think much. I secretly don't even know how or what to do. Like, how do we just go back to normal? I still feel betrayed, and even though he didn't cheat, I don't trust him. And I don't even know if he's telling the truth. I mean, divorce is extreme for something so minor, but I don't know. I have to go back home tomorrow as I feel a bit better, and I can't hide out here forever as I have responsibilities, even though it's been a nice escape and being with my family has been great. I haven't talked much to my husband except through text, so tomorrow will be our first face-to-face conversation in a week. And you can have conversations with us, but they're one-sided. If you listen to full episodes of stories just like this, just go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts, and search up OK Storytime.
We can definitely have a conversation. We just can't hear you.
But there's a little bit left to the story. Do you have your thoughts collected?
Now I have plenty of thoughts. Something's going on. What else is going on?
I kind of believe this is true.
I just don't understand him dropping everything for her.
I mean, hearing that someone, is maybe going to harm themselves is scary. But also, why didn't you tell your wife any of this? Why didn't you say, she keeps telling me all this stuff, that's why I'm worried about her? Why did you lie? Why did you keep this a secret? So silly.
So suspicious.
Well, again, if you really look back at it, he started this relationship with his current wife with a lie until he got caught. He told her, like, oh, this is what I'm doing.
Oh, wait, we're exclusive? Which sounds like they had a conversation about it.
So dumb. You know when the vibe is exclusivity. Don't play like you don't.
But still have a conversation. So that's the update. What actually reminded me to do this update was I got a random message request on Instagram a few hours ago from a burner account. It's a picture, and I'm kind of scared to open it. I know it's probably a scam thing, but something in my gut is telling me it's connected to Angela, and I don't know if I should open it. Update. So I opened the picture, and it was a screenshot from what I assume is Angela's private story of her in lingerie with a caption that said, she'll just have to taste me when she's kissing him. Not the freaking Sabrina Carpenter lyrics.
First of all, I don't even know any Sabrina Carpenter lyrics. Is probably a lie. That is a deranged woman who is living out a fantasy in her own head. That's what I'm betting. She screenshotted her own private story and then sent it to you on a fake burner account. That's crazy.
That's weird.
It's crazy.
But that is the end of that story. Editors, can you put this at the beginning?
I walked away from a party because I saw my ex-boyfriend.
Actually, the party walked away with you.
Because you are the party. Ooh, nice. Let's go. November 30th, 2024. Okay, so I am 21 female and my ex, Aiden, is 20. 3 days ago, my best friend, Madison, invited me to celebrate Thanksgiving with her and our other friends. We were able to invite partners, siblings, blah, blah, blah. By the way, this comes from user Blueberry Pie 1109 and user Soft Raspberry 3543. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So, my older sister, 24, arrived before I did. A little while later, she texted me, but I was driving and my phone was on Do Not Disturb, so I couldn't read her message. Plus, I didn't want to risk getting a ticket, LOL. Also, before I left my house, she called me and said that she drove to my best friend Madison's house an hour earlier because Madison needed help with something, but I didn't know what it was. Well, when I finally arrived at Madison's house, I parked in the driveway and got out. I made sure to double check if I had locked my car before heading inside. The door was unlocked, and I didn't need to knock because Madison says that we aren't strangers and that she trusted me the most. Aw, sweet. But either way, I still texted her to let her know I had arrived, and she reacted with a thumbs up.
Yeah, I'm not big on friends knocking at the door. I'm just like, come in.
Just let him in.
Like, don't awkwardly wait outside of my house. Just come in.
I opened the door, walked inside, and closed it behind me. I walked into the living room, but no one was there. I then went to the dining room where everyone was sitting, and some were setting up the table, like placing plates and forks and spoons and napkins, blah, blah, blah. However, when I took a few steps into the dining room, I saw Aiden sitting on the side of the table where I could clearly see his face. My brain really said, oh, heck no, and without thinking for a second, I turned around, opened the front door, and walked out. I still had my shoes on, so I was quick to leave. I thought that no one had seen me, but when I got into my car and started the engine, I heard Madison shouting my name. I know this might sound rude, but I didn't even glance at her and drove off immediately. I got a few texts from Madison, but I didn't hear any notifications because my phone was on Do Not Disturb.
D&D.
When I checked, I was already home and received about 10 messages from her, and they were all pretty much the same. Hey, OP, why did you leave so suddenly? Dinner hasn't started yet, and you're already gone. Where'd you go? Did something urgent happen? Why'd you leave? She was acting as if Aiden wasn't there. Girl, was I being paranoid, or was Aiden really there? I just left her on red and haven't spoken to her or anyone else yet. Even today, when she called me, I didn't answer. The thing is, I forgot about my sister, and I haven't heard from her yet. I did text her before I wrote this post, but she hasn't responded yet, so in the meantime, I'll be waiting for her response. Oh, and the message she had sent me was, yo, OP, Aiden just arrived with Madison's brother, Mason. Did you know he was coming? I responded with no. And there's an edit here. The dining room and the living room were in front of each other. For example, the dining room on the left and the living room on the right. Emma the a-hole has no consensus, but OP was not the a-hole. What are the ages here? Are we at 20?
Yeah, what are the ages?
Okay, we're 20. This is an X.
OP is 21, Aiden 20.
So
Yep.
if
College students.
in reality here, it's like whoever knew Aiden was coming and that Aiden was your ex should have told you that they would be there so you wouldn't get blindsided. This might be the first time we've had to deal with this from the perspective of OP, right? It's like it might be OP's first time having to rerun into their ex.
Yeah,
But like honestly, the way that you went about it, very bad. Now the entire evening has become about why you left because of your ex. You've kind of messed up the dinner. You've kind of
Low-key,
insulted your friend.
I would probably, I gotta go handle something work-related. I'd probably throw out the work-related thing. We'll probably get more inside here.
But let's read some comments. Comment says, just be open about it. Aiden was there and I just noped out of there. Figured no one needed the drama. OP says, I wanted to tell her about him, but I didn't know what came up to me that made me shut up. But I did text her today and she hasn't responded yet. Comment 2 says, one would think that Madison would know that you wouldn't be comfortable around your ex. Madison's brother is the a-hole for bringing him. And frankly, Madison is a bit of an a-hole for not making him leave, then pretending like she didn't know why you left. She absolutely knew why you left, and a real best friend would have warned you, which is fair. There could have been a warning. OP says, I didn't think of this, to be honest. Thank you for telling me. I'm going to have a talk with her eventually. Commenter 3 says, this is not a friend. She knew he was there and didn't warn you. It doesn't matter if she invited him, she probably did, or if she knew someone else brought him, which she knew. She knew that you broke up and wouldn't want to spend a holiday with him. She set you up to create drama. She's not a friend or a good person. OP says, thank you. I'm starting to think about it now, and it's actually quite confusing to me. She never hid something from me before, but now that she did, I feel like there's something wrong.
I don't really know what's happening. I don't know why she left so suddenly.
Well, it's like a holiday dinner, too. It's a Thanksgiving.
I'll tell
or
you
like a Friendsgiving.
Friendsgiving.
They recently broke up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
That's the last person you want to see. You're getting over your ex and you're in college or like, your early 20s. The last person you want to see where you're like, I'm grieving. I'm still sad. I just broke up with somebody. It's probably one of their first relationships. They're probably just like shocked. You just like saw a ghost, pretty much.
Yeah.
Let's get to the update. Sorry to disappoint, but nothing much happened, which I don't believe because we're not even halfway through this story yet. After I sent that text, she never bothered to reply. Before I even knew it, she had blocked me. Why? I don't know. Maybe she's hiding something from me. I know I shouldn't be saying that and suspecting her, considering we're still best friends, but I can't help it. I've never heard from her or seen her again. I tried asking our other mutual friends about her, and they all said that they hadn't heard anything from her since that day. Yes, I told them what happened and how it ended. Some girls even said that she had blocked them the same day she blocked me. Now, the only one who possibly knows where she's at and or why she isn't responding to anyone is her brother, but I don't feel comfortable texting him, and I don't think I have the courage to. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It's been nearly 2 months, and I'm still blocked. I'll post again if something happens, but for now, I'll just continue enjoying life with my boyfriend. If anyone has any questions to ask, please do. I don't bite. Well, yeah, you didn't take a bite of that dinner. Oh! I like reading y'all's opinions, especially the ones who offer advice. Thanks for reading. We have an edit here. Some comments said that if I needed or wanted closure or anything, I should text Mason, which I kind of have the courage to do. I have added him on Instagram, but I rarely use it, so if I message him, it'll take a while for him to message me back. I'll try to make an update about this whole situation as soon as possible. Another edit here. Just wanted to tell y'all I won't be able to respond since there's a lot of comments. I won't be able to respond to them all. I'll try to read as many of them as possible. Thank you all for your support and kind words. And to the people who went through something similar like this, sending you much love, hugs to every single one of you. I'll see you when I'll be able to update. Love y'all. So we have some comments here.
Madison and Aiden are dating. I'm seeing a lot of that now.
Madison and Aiden are dating. Yep, that could be the reason here. I don't see any other reason why that would happen. Either your ex is now dating your ex best friend, or this was some attempt to get you back together with him. Sounds like your sister stayed. May want to ask her how things looked between the ex and best friend. OP says, dang, that first line sounds harsh. I've never experienced such a thing and I don't want to, but I'll take your word for it. My sister said that she just stayed there chatting with the others, but nothing more. Commenters 2 says, that's effed up, really. To me, it seems like she wasn't really your best friend if she could block you so easily, which honestly, yeah, I kind of agree with. Maybe she was hiding something or just didn't care enough to make things right. Either way, you're better off without her. OP says, I agree. That's not how a best friend treats their other best friend. Thanks. Commenter 3 says, she didn't know he was coming to her house. Yeah, I definitely call BS. I think she was dating him or wanting to date him. She isn't a best friend or even a friend. You're better off without her. OP says, exactly. Like, how wouldn't she know? A lot of people said that. I'll try to find out the truth as fast as possible so I could share it here. Does OP's sister talk to Madison? No. OP says, my sister and Madison don't even like each other for some reason. Intriguing.
Intriguing. Sister probably got a gut check before you did.
Well, we've got to update 1 month later. I've got nothing to say to that except, I mean, it's plausible. And yeah, like, I think dating an ex of your, like, a friend, like, there's a code there. You have to have a discussion with the friend before you get with the ex, or you got to be prepared to lose that friend.
It's the GIRL code.
Girl code, guy code.
Yep.
It's all the same code. You just got to be like, hey, what's up with this? What if this happened?
So what had happened if this happened?
Yeah. And you got to do it before anything happens. That's important. You got an update 1 month later.
Oh, boy.
Hey, everybody. I'm back again with another update. But first, I got to give them some names. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, we already have that.
Madison,
Aiden, and Mason. Mason is Madison's brother. Aiden is the ex. Hopefully, y'all won't get confused. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so in my last post, I said that I might have to talk to Mason to get answers, but things did not go as planned. Basically, his sister, Madison, was the one to reach out first. Yes, the girl everyone suspected that was dating my ex. I'm not saying I didn't suspect her dating him as well, but I can't say that I fully did either. Well, that was a whole lot of nothing. Madison unblocked me from everywhere, I think, and messaged me 5 days ago, asking if we could meet up and have a talk. If I'm being honest, when I first saw the message, my heart skipped a beat, and it took me a few moments to process and realize that it was really her. You know that one feeling when someone you hadn't heard from in months or maybe even years suddenly texts you out of the blue? Yes, that feeling. I agreed because, well, I really wanted to know whether she and Aiden were dating or not. That thought was eating my brain. Earlier today, we met at a regular cafe. We sat awkwardly in front of each other for a few moments that felt like hours. Then she started initiating small talk with me, asking me how I've been and if I'm doing okay. No, honey, I've been miserable. I didn't say much and I got to the point. I told her to tell me the truth and do not dare lie about it. She didn't say anything at first, but then said, okay. I first asked her about Aiden and why he was there, despite her knowing how much I hated and resented him in the first place. She let out a huge sigh, like she just lost a whole competition. And then she said that she hoped that we'll reconcile eventually and forget about the past. I just nodded, looking her in the eyes, and said, "Are you and Aiden dating?" She just stared at me, like deep into the depths of my soul. I didn't know what to do, so I asked again. She tried avoiding that question by looking away and staying silent. She's answering your question right now.
So, why did you want to meet at coffee if you're not going to talk?
Also, yeah, but to be clear, this is something you could have just done over text or over a phone call.
Yeah.
Like this
could have been done over email. We didn't have to need a meeting.
Yeah, at your normal regular cafe. But it didn't stop me. I told her, if you don't answer me, consider this the last time you'll ever talk to me, let alone see me. I would have left either way. And after some back and forth, she admitted that they're dating. Continuing on, she looked at me and I could hear the hesitation in her voice. She confirmed it. I asked for how long, and she legit said a little over a year. Girl, no, I was for real shocked and speechless. I was like, what the F? And on top of that, she just casually said it. I decided to leave because I couldn't do it anymore. I was disgusted and disappointed in her, and I told her that. Her eyes started welling up with tears, and then she began begging me to hear her out, but I couldn't even look at her. Then she started full-on crying, so I just left her there. On my way home, I blocked her and her brother on everything. I know I didn't share why me and my ex broke up or what happened between us, and I don't think I ever will.
What?
Dang.
Dude, this is the only reason I'm here right now.
Well, we can't get...
Just give me some idea. Like, if I was in the wrong, great. He was in the wrong, great. Give me something. I don't even want to read this anymore.
I don't think I'll ever share it because for me, I want to keep it private and it's still traumatic. I might share some details about it in the future, maybe not, but I reassure you that it was really, really bad. Okay. That's really all we needed to hear.
So who wasn't a good guy?
Bad, traumatic breakup. Not sure when it happened, though. My question is that 1 year? Is there any overlap there with the relationship? When did you break up with Aiden? And
also, wouldn't your best friend know why you guys broke up?
Yeah, which makes it, again, I do think Madison is way in a-hole territory now. Anyway, this may not be the update y'all hoped for, but hopefully it is in the next one. If something else happens, I'll keep you updated. One last thing, if I didn't answer some of y'all's comments, I'm either busy sleeping or at work. Thank you so much for the support. And there's some comments here. Comment 1 is, well, you know why she blocked you now. Also, the BS of her wanting you to reconcile with him. How cynical of her after she dated him for almost a year. It's absurd. And you're doing right by cutting her out of your life. You truly did not need her for the last few months, and I doubt you need her from here on out. She can be with the ex and receive the same treatment you received from him. And when she comes crawling back for your forgiveness, just shut the door on her. She doesn't deserve anything from you. Also, I would advise to expose her to the rest of the friends and your sister for them to know why she blocked you in the first place and maybe others. This is not for revenge. This is 1, for you to keep out of her reach the control of the narrative, and 2, to find out which of the other friends in the group knew and did not tell you. So you know who you can count on. Good luck. OP says, I'd like to take your advice and thank you.
Fair.
Commenter 2 says, oh, wait, when you say traumatic, are you talking about something the police should have been called about or something super effed up? I don't want you to get into details you don't want to share. I just want to understand the rest of your story. I'm still on your side, and F your effing friend. I hope she gets everything she deserves. OP says, I'd say both. It was something about a and you know what I mean. Commenter 3 says, not the a-hole. What best friend thinks it's appropriate to date their best friend's ex? This is like family members dating other family members' exes. Why would you do this? There are millions of other people in the world. There are billions of other people you could have chosen. Why did she have to choose the person she knew would hurt someone close to her the most? At this point, I almost feel like it's some type of weird competition or obsession that she has with you, that she's dating your ex, and she's been doing it for a year secretly without you knowing. The fact that they were dating for a year before she told you was also incredibly filth-tastic. For that year, every time you met and spoke with her, you were thinking, this is my best friend, when in reality, it wasn't your best friend, and it was a snake in the grass. OP says, this is what upsets me the most. Imagine finding out that the person who you trusted the most ended up being nothing but a backstabber. It feels unreal, but real at the same time. What did OP's sister say about the dating couple? OP says she said that she didn't know that they were ever dating. According to her, she thought that Madison's plan was to try to get us back together, and that's why she also left. Basically, she didn't know anything about it. However, I told her about the conversation with Madison, and she was grossed out. We have a third update. Hey, everybody! Quick update to the people who commented on my last post and told me to tell my friends and close ones about my ex-best friend and her relationship with my ex, just in case she tries to spin her own narrative. You were right. Nearly 4 days ago, she made a post on Facebook about me.
Ooh, link, please. Link.
Link it up. Link it out. Dox
Yeah.
yourself. Recently, a close friend of mine found it and forwarded it to me. I rarely use Facebook and she's still blocked on everything, which is why I didn't know about it. I'll just paste what she said. Yes, because if I explained it myself and put in details, this will be very long. She said, my best friend of 16 years had left me. After everything I did for her and after sacrificing my life for her, this is how she repays me. I should have seen this coming, but it caught me too much off guard. I didn't even do anything wrong. She blocked me on everything and I haven't heard from her since. Everyone, don't trust anyone too much, especially those who are close to you. You don't know if they'll betray you or stay by your side until the end. OP, you are a backstabber. You ruined my life forever, and I'll never forgive you. Holy projection, Batman. What are we doing here? My favorite line is that,
I gave her everything.
yeah, I didn't even do anything wrong. And then my second favorite after that is, you don't know if they'll betray you or stay by your side. It's like, you did both of those things. You
This is
betrayed
weird.
her while at her side. This is the same woman who was boinking my ex. First, she invited him to Thanksgiving dinner in hopes that we would reconcile. Then I found out that she had been with him for a whole year. And now this? What level of delusion is she on? She even had the audacity and confidence to call me a backstabber and say I was the one who betrayed her. The worst part is that people seemed to believe her in her comment section without even knowing the full story. Because most of them were her friends. I know them, but they aren't my friends. And the other were people I don't know. They spoke badly about me and wished that something bad would happen to me. She's playing the victim card, spreading lies while I'm here still processing everything. I really hate this woman so much. I don't know what to do now, but I'm thinking of responding to her. I've never in my life made a post about someone, let alone respond to a post about me. So if anyone has any advice on what I should say or do, I'm open to hearing it. And there are some comments here.
And OP, you kind of are doing the same thing.
Right. Riley, hit her with your advice, please.
She's just basically putting a post on Reddit instead of Facebook to more people, not just her friends. and
Oh,
family.
that is a good, yeah,
But if you
that
want
is
to
a fair
do the
observation.
nefarious, get ready with me, expose the truth, let everyone know.
I mean, here's what I'd say. I think this is a situation where you don't want to go in with like a warhead. You want to go in with like a scalpel. So like, don't reply to the post and like make this whole big thing out of it. You already know where you sit with it. You say that you're still processing it and you don't know what to do about it. I think the thing that will give you the most peace of mind is to just like tell the people, like you said, there's a lot of people who were strangers on that post responding to it. Who cares about them? Anyone who's your friend, a relationship or a friendship that you value, who may not know the full story, tell them. Go in with a scalpel. Tell the people that matter. And then, you know what? It's brilliant the way that this stuff can just go away. You just take your computer, you take your phone, you take wherever you're looking at it, you just close it.
Yeah, you
And now,
turn it
mwah, it doesn't exist. It's gone. It's only there. Comment 1, give her a taste of her own medicine, answer to her post, but that's just petty me. Your friends know the truth, so no need to fuel her need for drama. OP says, yes, all my friends and loved ones know everything, and the reason why I'm thinking of responding to her was because I fear that her people are going to attack me or something. Comment 2 says, screenshot her post so you have the evidence if she deletes it, and post a response on your own Facebook page. Tag her and everyone involved in it so it gets their attention. Disable comments on the post. OP says, actually, this is a good one. I'll think about it. When did OP break up with the ex? I left him about 5 or 6 years ago. Comment 3 says, let her run her mouth, but I'd be petty and reply right under it and air it all out. I'd send a mass text to all mutual friends and family. If you don't want to go that route, you can get her for intimidation. And here's another update 2 days later. Okay, so no more talking too much. I'll just get straight to the point. Oh, y'all, she is pregnant. Madison, my ex-best friend, is pregnant. So basically, first, I don't know how far along she is or when this happened, but here's how I knew. She texted me from probably one of her friends' phones. This is what she said. Quote, this is what you're missing on right now. My baby will unfortunately grow up without an auntie, referring to me because we grew up together and treated each other like real sisters, who will love him dearly and shower him with gifts. Not to sound rude, but I really, really wanted you to be a part of this journey with me, but your stubbornness and selfishness ruined it. Even though you completely shattered my heart and destroyed my confidence, I still want you in my baby's life. For now, we'll put the past behind and move on until the baby is born. Me and Aiden are happy to welcome you back into our lives with open arms. Love you lots. And on the bottom, there was a photo of an ultrasound. I immediately blocked her. Good. Perfect decision. I think
This is so weird.
there might be something here about like, because they grew up together and stuff, like the reason that she's with Aiden is like maybe there was some competitive
There is a
something
competitive
going on there.
aspect here because she's doing this like, I got with him. I'm having his baby.
Yeah.
And Aiden may fall victim to the first love theory where he actually still has feelings for OP because OP ended it. And he probably was like, well, she used to do it like this. She used to do it like that. Da, 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 da. He's feeling that way. And Madison knows that. She's like, oh, well, how can I one up her? How can I be better than her? And she's rubbing this in her face.
You know something? Remember that Facebook post she posted about me? That message that she sent up was after I responded to her. Sorry to disappoint y'all with my response, but I thought that it was the only suitable one. I only responded with a link to my Reddit post and threatened that if she continued spreading false info and lies about me, I'd make sure to sue her for defamation. What happened after? The post was gone, but the evidence is still with me. I assume that she tried to manipulate and guilt trip me into everything that she said, which is not happening today or tomorrow. Excellent. And by the way, today, tomorrow, the next day, to the end of time, you can actually listen to full episodes with stories like this one on Spotify and iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen. Just search OK Storytime, and you've got nearly 1,300 hours worth of stories to listen to. We have a little bit more story left here. Riley, do you have any closing thoughts to add?
OP seems like she's doing the right thing. Crazy. Whatever this Madison gal has been eating, she's not your friend. And you gotta let her go.
It's true. It's time to move on.
That's so hard if one of my
Yeah.
friends did that to me. Oh.
It's fundamentally broken at that point. I don't know if that's coming back.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
So let's finish the story. I know I may seem like I'm just casually typing all this like it was normal, but in reality, I'm speechless shocked and low-key shaking. I'll try to respond to as many people as possible tonight, but after that, I'll leave this account for a few weeks. And to the one person who messaged me in private, thank you so much for the advice. I'm sorry to everyone that went through something like this. We all deserve better. And we have some relevant comments here. Sorry to hear about all of this. Hope you have a great support system. How can she even have the thought that you would want to be in her life after everything she's done? OP says probably because I was her friend the longest, 16 years, while the others are 1 to 5 years. Not sure though. Comment 2 says, not the a-hole. You are much better off without them. Block them and move on. Should she text you again, bluntly tell her that she is pestering you and you would take legal action if necessary. Also, are you sure she's actually pregnant? I wouldn't put it past her to use a fake ultrasound. Go live your best life without them. OP says, I haven't seen her pregnant when we met before, probably because of what she was wearing, so she may actually be faking it. Commenter 3 says, the best revenge is to live a good life, block both of them, put this all behind you. I know it's easier said than done, but these people are not well. Don't give them any more of your energy. Good luck to you. Wholeheartedly agree with that. And with that, we have come to the end of the story.
I exposed my friend's affair. Now she thinks I put a curse on her.
Everyone go drink water and go smile. The curse is reversed.
I, female 30s, had a best friend, Joy, female 30s. We had a lot in common, including basketball, music tastes, and even had similar hair. So we talked about hair products and styling a lot of the time. We were on the same basketball team. Joy was married to another woman, Sarah, and they had 2 young boys. By the way, this comes from Southern Ad 6871. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to r/OKStorytime subreddit. So, Joy and I would often end up on nights out together with other friends, mainly as we had the same taste in music. Sarah would come along for gigs, but skipped club nights. One night back in 2019, Joy and I were getting a taxi home when Joy confessed to having an affair with a woman at work. She did not want Sarah to know. I was friends with Sarah only through Joy, and I felt that the relationship was none of my business. At the beginning of 2020, Joy and Sarah separated, but due to the pandemic, they ended up still living together. During this time, Joy and I started a relationship. I'm bi and poly, which is important later. Oh, wait, you and Joy? You and Joy?
Wait a minute. Hold up.
You
Wait
and
a
your
minute.
friend?
Somebody
Okay.
call Mr. Clean, because I'm sensing this is going to get messy.
Without hesitation, it was the best relationship of my life, even though we weren't open with it to save putting Sarah through more upset. Oh, so it was under wraps. This continued until 2021 when, in a conversation with another friend, I found out that Joy and Sarah had reconciled and were back together again.
Okay.
But y'all were still... Joy hadn't broken off with me nor even told me. That's not how poly works.
So you became a non-consensual affair partner.
That's not how poly works. I split with Joy, upset at the lack of communication.
Yeah.
However, we ended up getting back together, albeit with me aware Joy was still with Sarah. Was Sarah aware that Joy was with you?
Right. That makes all of you suck if y'all all did this and knew that Sarah thought she was just exclusive with Joy.
Then you're stuck.
Y'all all suck if that's the case.
This is my biggest failure, and I realize how much this caused. All was fine until 2023, when Joy started asking me more and more about my poly lifestyle and being with men. I thought nothing of it, as we shared pretty much everything about our lives. Joy admitted to me that she'd received flirty messages from a mutual friend and teammate, Andy, and was considering a relationship with them too. I was a little shaken, but asked just to be open and communicate with me and to remember our friendship as well as our relationship. However, Joy stated she was worried that Sarah had more chance of finding out about Joy's affairs if both affair partners knew about each other.
Everybody sucks in this story except Sarah.
So although she told me about Andy, Andy was not told we were also together. This was uncomfortable for a few months, with me repeatedly asking Joy to be honest to Andy about us and how I felt burdened with all of Joy's affairs. Really easy solution. Whilst Andy didn't have to carry that weight. However, Andy found out about us via rumors from another teammate and promptly dumped Joy. So yeah, that's what you should have done. Joy was inconsolable and made me feel useless as both a friend and a partner. Within a week, Joy has ended our relationship too, but asked to remain friends. I was gutted as I knew it was in retaliation to being dumped by Andy, but agreed. However, the friendship was not the same, and Joy was spending more time with Andy. I asked if they were back together, and Joy was adamant they were just friends. You're being lied to. I tried my best to hang on to our friendship, but it was making me so ill and upset with my attempts to spend time with Joy, whereas she was happily spending 3 or 4 nights a week with Andy.
Dang, so you're jealous and you don't care that you've ruined Sarah's emotional state?
I was certain they were back together, but Joy kept telling me I was wrong. I was paranoid. I just thought the worst of her. Joy also argued that I was being selfish as she needed her own time to spend with her boys, making me feel incredibly guilty and selfish for asking for her time. Also, I forgot that Sarah and Joy have 2 children. 4 months later, and both Joy and Andy made it onto the selection team for our basketball league. That night, I found out I had been deselected from the roster. I asked the captain why this had happened and was given a vague response. Messaging Joy directly, she said there had been a mistake, but her response was also very vague. This went back and forth for a week before I was given an official response, which amounted to that I had been removed as I was not required within the team. I was angry, upset, and very lonely without the team, and I got in a bad place. One night, I got very wasted and messaged both Sarah, Joy's wife, and Andy's wife to tell them both their partners were having an affair. The next morning, I was racked with horror and guilt over what I'd done to 2 people who had nothing to do with the team. I sent out apology letters to them both and even sent apologies to both Joy and Andy, but had nothing in response.
Why would you apologize?
I ended up moving teams and found myself working back into playing once more. I tried to keep out of both Joy and Andy's way when it came to tournament days, keeping away from my old team and teammates, but also away from the advanced team that Andy played for, that Joy had also joined, with them both playing for both teams. This went on for months. Then, oh boy, I got some juicy gossip.
Ooh, the hot goss.
I was at an open workshop day with a member of the advanced team was chatting with me, and she mentioned that Joy had been removed from their team. I didn't want to look like I was snooping, but not only did it turn out that Joy and Andy had indeed been continuing their affair, who's shocked? Who's shocked? No one.
No one. I'm sorry, OP, that your lying radar is not very good.
Joy had also been sleeping with other people on the advanced team. Andy found out and blew his lid and told the team that either Joy or he stayed, and they picked Andy. This was delicious enough on its own, but there's more. My old basketball team started to fall apart and lost every game in their tournaments in 2024. Both Andy and Joy ended up leaving the team, and Joy has to travel over 3 hours to her new team, taking up a whole day away from her boys. The reason she would deny spending time with me was to spend time with her boys. This new team also lost most of their games. So Joy is punted out for one team, loses all the games in a season, and now is in a distant team, missing out on time with her sons. That's not where it ends, though. A few weeks back, the company Joy works for announced it would be folding, and there would be redundancies across the board, meaning Joy would be unemployed in a month or two. Last Friday night, I was getting ready to go to a gig when there was a knock at my door. It was Joy.
Oh, Joy.
And then you close the door. You go, oh, hey, Joy. I was quite surprised to see her, as since leaving the old team, she had no reason to be on this side of the city. Joy looked disheveled and tired. I cautiously opened the door a crack and asked what she wanted. Joy looked around for a bit and then asked if I knew she was losing her job. I said, yeah. She asked if I knew Sarah had left her. And I said, no, I had not known that. She then asked me if I had anything to do with it, and I was confused. I had sent Sarah a message over a year ago stating the affair, but since sending an apology letter, I'd not had any contact at all. Joy then said, am I cursing her? And I asked her what she meant. She asked me if I had put a curse on her because her life was falling apart. I took a moment to take it in before giving a small laugh and closing the door. Joy must have taken the hint because she drove off shortly after. By the way, you should drive your butt over to full episodes of stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search a Poke Storytime. So despite doing nothing, as I'm not a witch, Karma has stepped in to bring Joy back down to earth. Wow, so like not aware.
Just like completely outside of reality right now.
I know I should not have continued a relationship with Joy whilst she was with Sarah. And for that, I certainly deserved the guilt for the upset I caused, but it's so nice to know that Sarah also broke from the lies Joy was telling everyone. Now it seems the whole basketball league is aware of Joy's affairs, including with me, as I've had previous teammates apologize for not speaking up for me when I needed them.
What is up with this basketball narrative too? Shut up about the basketball team. Let's talk about the relationship upheaval. It's like, why is that even mentioned right now? Why are you talking about the roster?
And have been made to feel more comfortable around them in their new teams. All I can say is a big thank you to Karma. Comments, and I'm so excited to read these.
Let's go.
Comment 1, no offense, but you all sound toxic, petty, and problematic as heck. Yeah, you got done wrong, but honey, you knew Joy was a cheater before you got together, so what did you expect? This is not how you do healthy poly E&M at all. Comment 2, where the heck does Joy get all this energy to date multiple people in secret? So it's harder than normal dating. Have a full-time job and raise children. I have a job and a cat and am not dating, but can barely get off the couch. And that is the end of that story.
Damn, we needed like 18 more comments.
Wow,
That's
Joy.
wild.
I want more comments.
Yeah.
I want to know who's freaking dragging OP through the mud.
My ex's wife demands I pay them back for what happened 20 years ago.
No thank you. Not doing that.
So, for some background, my ex-husband and I ended things over 20 years ago. When our son was 2, he stepped out. At the time, I was a stay-at-home mom and going to nursing school full-time. He was paying for my schooling. By the way, this comes from Disturbia Hope, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. So after he left, I asked him if he would keep paying for my school so I could finish with no debt. He agreed, saying it was the least that he could do. A few months after that, he got his affair partner pregnant.
Weeks, man.
So wow, he left because of an affair, and now she's preggers.
Yeah.
Dang.
Ooh.
Once she got pregnant, she demanded that he stop paying for my schooling. It was 1/5 of their income, and she said that money needed to go towards their new baby. He refused and kept paying for the remaining year and a half I had left. Over the years, I continued my education, and now I'm a nurse practitioner.
Oh, yeah.
I do well for myself, and I never remarried. On to the problem. My son called me and told me that he and his wife are expecting.
Exciting.
Wow. I was ecstatic. I asked if I could come over sometime during the weekend to give them some things. His favorite stuffy as a child, a check, and some other small sentimental things. He said yes, so I went over earlier today. I came by and gave him everything, including a check for a few $1,000s for baby stuff, co-pays, the nursery, or anything else they may want. My son and his wife thanked me and told told me that the money would be very helpful. My ex-husband and his wife came over a little while later. They surprised them with dinner and didn't know that I would be there. And they saw the check on the counter. My ex's wife asked about it and I said, oh, well, I wanted to help out where I could. Everything's so expensive nowadays. I was really just trying to be polite, but I don't think this is any of her business. This woman had the audacity to say, well, maybe since you have all this money now, you can finally pay us back all that money that you took when you went to college. I was dumbfounded. My ex has literally never brought up me paying him back. He's always said that it was the least he could do for both me and our son. My ex has done very well for himself in his career. I didn't see how or why they'd need the money, so I asked them, do you guys need the money or something? My ex said no. And she said, of course not. It's about principle. I told her I will absolutely not be paying them back for college tuition from over 20 years ago, especially when she ended up in our marital home while I was living in a small apartment, barely making ends meet for years after I initially finished school. I've never been bitter or mean. I've always been civil since our kids are siblings, but my blood was boiling. I left shortly after that. According to my son, this has been a point of contention in their marriage. She's brought it up a few times over the years in front of him, and she's insisting to him that he needs to convince me to finally pay back what they're owed. The biggest issue is now that the whole dang family is involved. I got calls from 3 separate family members saying that I need to get over myself and just pay back. So am I the a-hole here? And there are some comments, but what's our answer?
No.
No. Not
You
the
would
a-hole.
only be the a-hole if your ex was like, hey, do you mind paying back that money? And you were like, no.
It's not on her to ask about this.
No, especially because you literally went, do you guys need the money? And your ex went, nope.
Yeah.
I think you need to have a conversation with your ex and say, hey, do you want me to pay that money back? Because, you never once brought it up. And it seems like only your ex is, or only your wife is interested. And then, go from there, depending on what he says.
I get it if it was a thing where it was like it should be paid back and 20 years have gone by, like, sure, it should still be paid back. But if this is something where it was never brought up or never really a problem to be paid back in the past 20 years, that means it can be forgotten in the 20 years.
I mean, it seems like OP was like, hey, do you mind, helping me out with school? It seems like initially the question was, hey, do you mind giving me like a loan? Yeah. And then the ex was like, no, like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So they already worked that out 20 years ago.
But there are some comments. Comment number 1 says, tell her it was the adultery tax or that her husband was ensuring that his son would have a good life with either parent, not the a-hole. OP responds, this is exactly what my ex said. He wanted to make sure that we could both afford things for our son. It was in a way a good investment for him because we went half on basically every activity that our kid was in, his first car and his college tuition. We definitely couldn't have done that if I only had a high school education.
Exactly. I mean, yeah. No, investment paid off.
Right. Like, it's not necessarily child support, but it is in a way child
it
support.
Helps
like
out because then
sure.
you don't, he didn't have to pay for all those things solely in the future.
Exactly. But there is an update. So first, I want to clarify some things. Yes, it was our marital home. We bought it after getting married. I didn't fight so hard for it in the divorce for a few reasons, mostly that she was borderline pestering me about how they needed the house for their growing family. I also didn't want to deal with a longer and more drawn out divorce, and it would have been if I fought for the house. Yes, he bought me out of the house. However, it really wasn't much, as it was late 2007. Most of it went towards credit card debt anyway. Another thing, when he was paying for my schooling, we were still legally married. The divorce didn't finalize until after I graduated. There was no child support until after I graduated. There was never any alimony. I did live in the house while I was in school, and they lived in an apartment. He paid all of those bills, including hers, after she got pregnant. So his finances were tight at the time. The family that called weren't my relatives. They were my ex's and his wife's relatives. I thought they were family, but they've since been blocked. So on to the update. I got off work yesterday to find a few missed calls from my son. When I called him back, he tells me that his stepmom has now asked for the money from the check since it was almost the same amount that they spent on my college.
Money from what check?
From the check that OP gave to her son.
Oh, no.
No, not at all.
And that's when the son goes, sorry.
Yeah.
Seems like a you problem.
Right. Now you're just taking money from the son.
Literally, like, why does she need that money?
Yeah. It's just
they
out of
have
spite.
enough money. They're comfortable.
Just spite, man.
Just
I
like
don't know.
Spite and greed.
Also, you're the affair partner. There is a bit of hierarchy in this situation.
Yeah, like you knowingly had an affair with a married man.
Yeah, and now you're harboring this resentment. I'm
20-year-old
guessing.
guilt,
Like, I'm
resentment.
guessing this is some sort of resentment towards OP
Absolutely.
and just like being super bitter. But you are not in a place to do that. You were the affair partner. You were the other woman. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. She said that it was obvious that I'd never pay my debts and that I would just give him, my son, more money anyway. I'm stunned. I'm pissed. I don't know what has possessed her to think to ask my son for money intended for his family. I tell my son to ignore her and I'll handle it. So next, I call my ex. It goes straight to voicemail. I try again a few minutes later and it's the same thing. So I reluctantly call my ex's wife and she answers immediately. I tell her the three of us, my ex, her, and me, need to meet first thing in the morning to discuss the debt. I'm thinking this needs to happen in person with all three of us so that there's no confusion. She agrees. This morning, we met at a coffee shop near my ex's work. As soon as they sit down, I say, "So, ex's wife, want to tell me why you think it's appropriate to ask my son for money?" My ex looks at her and says, "You asked our son for money?"
Uh-oh. You didn't know about that. You're not going to be happy about that.
She starts on about how she was only asking for the money that they're, quote, owed, and she didn't ask for more than was on the check. Then she says, "For years, we've struggled to paying for your school. For years, we couldn't afford a new car, a new house, or a nanny. My kids had to share a room."
Oh, boo-hoo.
Boo-hoo, dude.
A lot of kids had to share rooms.
Yeah, like, have a problem with the husband then and not OP.
Like, why is this OP's issue?
Exactly.
And also, sorry, you couldn't afford a nanny?
Yeah, like, a lot of people can't afford a nanny. That's
not
it's
like
an expensive thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on.
She goes on about her struggles, and I started to tune her out because I keep thinking that there's no way she's this deluded. It may have been inappropriate, but I laughed. I literally took out thousands in credit card debt to keep me and my son afloat while my, at the time, husband was shacking up with her and paying her bills. My ex looks at her and says, "What the heck, Sarah?" I added, "It's laughable that you think you're owed anything from while you were a mistress. We were married when he paid for my schooling. It's quite literally none of your business how he chose to spend money. You had zero entitlement to his money until you said, 'I do.' And from what I recall, that wasn't until years after the divorce was even finalized. Do not contact me or my son about this money again. You will never see a dime from me." Wow.
Yeah.
That was a great response.
Yeah. Honestly, also very important information that
Yeah. I mean, we didn't know.
they weren't married
Yeah.
until like way after all of this money
Way
was,
after.
you know?
Yeah. And the fact that their family was struggling while he was paying for the affair partner.
Exactly.
That's
exactly.
Literally the same exact situation that she's complaining about. And
Mhm.
OP isn't asking for that money back.
Yeah.
She rolls her eyes and gets up to leave. My ex tells her that he's going to stay for a minute. After she's gone, he asks why I didn't just call him and tell him about what was going on. He said he would have handled it and that it didn't have to go this far. I say I did call him twice, actually. And this is how we figured out that she's blocked my number from his phone.
Oh, dang.
Whoa.
Dang.
Crazy. So those of you who said that she's just very insecure, you were absolutely correct. By the way, you would be absolutely correct if you just listened to full episodes with more stories just like this one on iHeartRadio, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. Just search OK Storytime.
It's the correct thing to do.
The correct thing to do. And there is a little bit more story, but I feel like we've gotten so much information in these past few sentences.
Truly, really everything is coming out right now.
Yeah. A lot of very important information. So glad that the husband is not on the affair partner's side.
Clearly in the dark about a lot of what she's been doing.
Yeah. So, it's not 2 against 1 in this
No.
situation, or at least not 2 against OP.
Exactly.
Wow. There is a little bit more to the story. I tell him that she involved his sister, cousin, and his sister-in-law. That I got several cars and texts from them telling me that I should just pay back my debt. Finally, I tell them that she involved the family and then asked our son for money intended for his baby. She has crossed too many lines. He apologizes and says that he'll make sure that she doesn't bother me about it again. We both leave after that. My son told me that he blocked her number and doesn't want her at his house until she apologizes. And that's pretty much it for now.
My wife left me for an alpha male. Now she wants me back.
Oh, I guess he's way too busy flexing his big muscles to pay attention to you, huh,
Is he
babe?
just too alpha for you?
Yeah.
Couldn't handle all that heat? I had been with my ex for 7 years, married for 5. It felt like love at first sight, and everything felt so natural when we met. After about 2 years of dating, we decided to tie the knot. By the way, this comes from Throwaway Beta, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to r/OKStorytime subreddit. Not soon after, we welcomed our baby boy, 4 male. He was a pandemic baby, so my wife ended up quitting her job while I continued working as a line cook and started doing Uber Eats on the side. After things went back to normal, my wife told me she doesn't want to be one of those women who loses their passion after settling down. So she went back to finish law school and take her bar. Of course, I wholeheartedly supported her, and we tried to make it work. After she passed, she immediately got hired at a firm downtown through the help of her friend Dumbo, 33 female. This is where the problems started. From the get-go, my wife began making good money. Good enough that she told me to quit my job and take care of our son full-time as she wouldn't have the time. I said no. I love my job. Cooking was my passion and even worked my way up to full-fledged chef. My biggest regret in our marriage had to have been her talking me into leaving, but I did and became a stay-at-home dad. Slowly, our married life began deteriorating as she started to pull away. She'd work long hours and barely spend any time with us. She'd go out drinking to network with her work colleagues on the weekends, sometimes even going out of town. At home, she'd always just be pissy with me. It's like her personality did a complete 180. This wasn't the sweet, nurturing girl I fell in love with all those years ago. Our intimacy became almost non-existent. After going through therapy, I can see now that I am to blame as well. I should have communicated better and shared how I felt. Luckily, the highlight through this was my son. Seeing him grow and being there for a lot of his firsts made everything feel like it'd be okay. One day, she finally came up to me and asked for a divorce. I wasn't surprised. I felt everything was eventually going to lead up to this, but I still didn't want to give up. I asked if she's sure about this or if she wants to make it work. I recommended couples counseling or temporary separation. She declined both those offers and told me she found someone else. Hearing this shattered me. Her changing and us growing apart, I can understand, but never once would I have thought that she would be the type to even entertain other men. She told me it's some partner at her firm. Haha, when did my life become a Korean rom-com? She told me that he invited her out a couple of times and showed her the life of luxury she deserves. We argued for a bit and she told me that he's twice the man as me. She called me feminine for being a stay-at-home dad while his wife was working hard and bringing home the money. And what about me working 2 jobs during the pandemic? To her, those weren't real jobs. I was a delivery driver and a cook. Wow. She told me this new guy is an alpha male who knows a woman's needs and how to take care of her. She bragged about how tall and muscular he is, how he's a real job, and took her on weekend getaways that she told me were work related. And here's the punter. He's such a man, he doesn't want to make things official until me and her are separated. I almost laughed at how delusional my ex had become. I asked her what about her son, and she said I can have him. What?
Dang.
Yeah, you can have him. I don't need him. He likes me better anyways. I think this hurt the most. I couldn't believe she said that about her own son, throwing him away like he's some object. For the first time, I couldn't recognize the person in front of me. I won't lie, I did let the anger get the best of me and said some hurtful things back. I could tell she was taken aback by this, probably because I almost never get that angry. She turned around and left. After she left, I cried my eyes out for 2 weeks, hoping she'd call and come back. I don't know, I don't love her anymore, but life without her feels so scary. The only thing that kept me going was my son. I knew I couldn't turn to the bottle or go down this dark path because of him. I managed to beg for my job back and they rehired me for some weeknights only, which is better than nothing. I spent the next months just putting my head down and working in silence. The divorce proceedings were moving quickly, and before I knew it, it was official. The worst part about this was I felt like I had no support system. On social media, everyone was praising her for being this strong, independent woman who broke free of some metaphoric shackles. Like I was some villain holding her back. And not a single person messaged me on how I'm doing. And thank God they didn't, because this is what made me want to try therapy, and I haven't looked back since. For all those that are unsure about therapy, I'm telling you, it works. Now, fast forward to this week, I received a phone call from an unknown number, and when I picked up, it was my ex on the other line, bawling. She told me how her alpha male boyfriend found someone else, and she's too afraid to confront him because he's a partner at her firm. She finally explained her perspective and how everything led up to this point. Basically, my ex has admittedly always been really pretty and a social butterfly. After she had her son and the pandemic hit, she felt ugly and insecure, even if I told her she was pretty. So I guess when she got the job, she got the validation she wanted. Of course, feeding into these delusions was Dumbo, who recently had divorced her husband and poisoned my ex's thoughts with how I'm a failure as a man.
It's just so absurd that she was like, I have the good job. You stay home.
I just don't understand why, you have this other woman at your firm saying like, oh, your husband's lesser than, and you don't just say, oh, no, I asked him to do that. Like he was working full time and I said, hey, can you, like, why wouldn't you?
But I think, again, it's probably coming from like a place of narcissism where it's
Absolutely.
like, you have to stay home because I'm the winner now. And it's like not coming from like oh my God, this would be great. You can raise you can have more time with our child. It was just more of like you're the loser and I'm the winner.
How my ex is way prettier than me and she deserves someone of her standards. Apparently, I'm a beta male who rolls over and is stopping her from being free. She said a lot more specific stuff too that I think I'll keep to myself here. But it was definitely an eye-opening conversation. I shouldn't have pushed my ex away to be vulnerable enough to listen to Dumbo. But still, after hearing all of this, I was really just disappointed more than anything that she would be stupid enough to throw everything away on some whim and peer pressure. My ex asked me if we could try again. She told me how much she misses me and how she took me and all I did for her for granted. For example, I always made her lunches in the morning, made sure she's up to date with her pills, and so on. She misses those little things. Do not forget that she said, you can have him, about your son, your guys' son.
Yeah, like he was just a collectible.
Like he was just a
He was just
Pokemon
a
card.
Pokemon card.
I admit to telling her that I missed her too, and I know our son does for sure, but she did make every decision herself. And what if things worked out with the other guy? I'm not some consolation prize she can come running back to. She cried and told me that she wanted me back a week after she left, but was too prideful to call.
Don't care.
I firmly told her no and hung up. Since then, my phone's been blowing up from friends and family that I'm heartless, that my wife was vulnerable and taken advantage of, and instead of picking up the pieces and helping her, I'm leaving her to fend for herself.
That's impossible.
Literally, like, just last week, it seems like all of you guys were saying, like, thank God that your wife left you, OP.
There's no way.
There's just flip-flopping.
That almost makes me... I now question the validity of this because that's so cartoonishly ridiculous of those people to be like, she was taking advantage of it, she was vulnerable, and you don't even care, you're heartless.
Not gonna lie, that message hurt the most. And you know what doesn't hurt? Listening to full episodes of stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search up OK Storytime.
Huzzah!
But there's a little bit left. Do you have any final thoughts?
Ooh, yeah. This is a moment where you don't get back together with her. But also, how could we have avoided all of this?
That's the real question.
I would say if we had clearly communicated exactly
From the start.
what we were feeling in the moment we were feeling it.
Yep, instead of waiting until the divorce happened, because you said you weren't surprised. Like, why didn't we have any conversations about how much time she was spending away from the family?
Right.
About, saying, I actually don't want to be a stay-at-home dad full time,
It's like, yeah, I feel like since I've become stay at home, I feel like you have started to treat me differently.
Yeah. I respect her father a lot, so I heard him out. He wants me to come over for a resolution/intervention this weekend and bring my son. They just want a conversation to hear both sides and see if it really is resolvable. I'm attending, but I'm going to stay firm with my answer. But all the recent messages have been making me rethink my stance. I just want to make sure I'm not in the wrong before I attend. So am I the a-hole? No.
No.
No. She doesn't care about your son, like, at all. She didn't bring him up once. She did not bring him up once. Yeah, no. You should not get back with this woman who literally only came back because she was rejected, to be clear.
Oh, icky. No good.
Icky,
Very
icky.
bad. I don't like it. Like, it's like, yeah, we want to just like intervene with her and make sure she knows how bad she messed up. But it's like, dude, she didn't even like, where did all of this come from? Right? That's the only thing. I don't know what else needs to be said or what else could be said other than like, you need to be honest about where all of this came from. And if she can't figure it out, then it's like, all right, I can't be okay with this.
But that's the end of the episode. So if you love us, make sure to subscribe.
We love you and
see you tomorrow.